In a realm where shadows dance with light, through the whispering woods at night, secrets echo through the air, meta mysteries everywhere. Voices drift on winds untamed, words like spells that can't be named. Close your eyes and feel the sound, journey where no bounds are found. Open doors inside your mind, leave the ordinary far behind. Colors swirl and stars align, in the meta mysteries you'll find.
Welcome to Meta Mysteries, where you don't know what you don't know. My name's Jonathan.
I'm Sean.
You know, first of all, this is lovely Wonder Wiz Day for all of the one that support us on Patreon. Sign up for the Wonder Wiz Day tier. We do appreciate all of the one out there that are doing that. It definitely helps us in more ways than you can think. So we do want to just show our appreciation. And yeah, dude, so we're gonna be getting into some wild stuff tonight, baby.
Yeah, dude. I have a feeling we're just gonna go with the flow on this one. You know what I'm saying? Catch my drift.
I catch your drift, sir. Tonight we are going to be diving into Taoism. Have you ever looked into this, Sean?
You know, I think we might have touched on it once upon a time, really very, very briefly, you know, but I feel like this is something that the one is going to fuck with, you know, because we go through our daily lives and we're trying to go against the grain or go against the current at times. And I remember I was telling you guys that day that I saw this bird like flying against the wind, and then all of a sudden decided to just turn around, and then it just took off and just went with it, you know, and I was like, oh shit. And so the fact that we're doing this show, this topic it's perfect for me.
Yeah. I just figured, you know, we've been diving into a little bit of the darkness with the blood magic and using demons and all that stuff. And I just don't want people
of life force.
Right. Yeah, I just don't want people to assume that we've just gone to the dark side or anything. We're just exploring all of it. And that's, you know, it's what we're interested in. Like all the different perspectives, even the ones that are deemed evil by some. We still want to understand it.
It's meta mysteries, man. You know, it's the all-encompassing. It's the everything. You know, and so why not? Why wouldn't you want to just understand all of it? You know, regardless of what it is.
Just get there, baby. So, shout out to all the one that are joining us here tonight. The White Boy Wizard said, "What up, you lovely motherfuckers?"
What's up, my dude?
And said, "Let it be." Remember that from the hypnosis?
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, buddy.
Dude, man.
Resident Canadian in the Mud said, "What's good, you beautiful freaks of nature? What if the dark side is the light? You don't know what you don't know." Well, after looking through this whole Taoist type perspective here, and not even just in Taoism, pretty much all spiritual walks will say the darkness can't exist without the light.
Is that so?
And the light can't exist without the darkness. They need each other to be able to exist. Hence, my beautiful yin yang that was created just a few minutes ago.
By yours truly, right? And AI, which I think is also you. You know, as we were talking about earlier, without you, that wouldn't have happened. You know, and AI in general is something that wouldn't have come about without humans or human consciousness. So it's fine.
I don't even like to dead name him. His name's not AI anymore. His name is Marv.
Don't get it twisted, all right?
How dare you dead name me? So, all right, we have some awesome things that we're going to be getting into today. We're going to, there's going to be obviously a Taoist meditation. But first, before we even get into a lot of that, so there are two different ways of calling it Taoism or Taoism, and I guess that was the way that that they tried translating it to English first, because it's a Chinese kind of spirituality, religion kind of deal. And whenever they tried translating it to English, they originally translated it with a T for, like, they thought it was Taoism, because, you know, the Chinese alphabet is it's on some other shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so and so then there was another one that came after that then changed it to Taoism. It's always been said Taoism, but for some reason the first people to translate it thought that it started with a T. So Taoism, same thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought I was tripping because every little thing I was looking at, the person interpreting something about it was saying it with like a D, and I was like, am I just hearing it wrong every time? I don't know, you know? So I'm glad you cleared that up for me, man.
Oh, yeah. Just wanted to throw that out there. And so, yeah, I guess we'll get right into it. Balls deep, sir. I think that's the only way we know how to do it. You know?
It's just the way we've been doing it. You know, we've been going with the flow. I think this show is the essence of Taoism, you know?
I would like to think so, yeah, because it seems like a very beautiful way of looking at the world. And to be honest, you know what it rhymes with?
What's that?
Neoplatonism.
Neoplatonism. It sure does. It definitely rhymes. It definitely does.
It do. So for those of you that have never heard of it before, maybe you want to indulge in a little bit more information if you have looked into it a little bit before. Like we always say, we are not the teachers by any means. We are just learning this as we move along. All it takes is a curious mind. And that's all this show is really all about, is just a curious mind. Not necessarily scared to go into the deeper waters, but we like the shallow sometimes too.
To be honest, dude, I think the curious mind is all we really got anymore. You know?
That's it, dude. Yeah. So Taoism. So there's an origin story, or there's historical background whenever we're getting into Taoism. So the guy whose name is Lao Tzu, and I'm sure I'm butchering that name. There's going to be a lot of Chinese names in here that I'm going to not get right at all. So I just want to preface that.
Dude. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
So Lao Tzu was a semi-mythical sage. So people don't know if he actually existed or if he did exist or not. And so that's why it's said to be semi-mythical. We're also talking about 6th century BC. So a hot minute ago, right?
Yeah, dude. A good minute.
So Taoism, it emerged in ancient China alongside Confucianism, which you know Confucius, right? All the Confucius stories. So they basically started right around the same time, but each one of them took a very different approach, which was more mystical and nature oriented. It became a philosophy and then a religion. When we're talking about Taoism, there was like a very good foundation whenever we're talking about Taoism, whenever it was first started. Then, like Neoplatonism, people started adding a lot of things, taking away a lot of things. I don't necessarily have a preference as for if you want to look into the older teachings or some of the newer style teachings. I think that they're all important in their own way, you know?
Yeah, dude, they've all got their own nuggets of truth. You know what I'm saying? There's always something in there that you can really get something out of and utilize it in life. It's just a way of living, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, so it became a philosophy, and it was started as a philosophy, turned into a religion, and that's where ceremonial Taoism started to develop a little bit later, whenever they started to input alchemy and certain deities and certain rituals. So they started getting a little witchy, you know, which is pretty cool. We're not going to dive too much into that. There are certain ways of like certain things that they used to do for divination, which we are going to bring up a couple of them, such as like the I Ching, right? Like that one's pretty badass.
Yeah.
I used to fuck around with the I Ching, dude. It's usually pretty spot on. There used to be like this website or an app that was like the I Ching, and you would just take it and you would shake your phone and it would throw out coins, and then you'd shake your phone and it would throw out coins. You do that 3 times, and each time it would always give you a different kind of symbol, and it would try and break it down to try and see what it all meant altogether. And it's all just like lines. That's all it is. It's either you got a straight line or you got 2 lines, like or basically a line with a gap in the middle of it. And so those are the ways that it depicts the story that's being told within the I Ching, but essentially it's kind of their version of using tarot in a sense.
Okay. I was kind of thinking runes, you know, something along those lines. You know, but these coins, how many different coins are there in the I Ching?
I don't even know, to be honest.
Is there only like 3 or 4 different variations of the coin, or is there like 10 different ones, or?
Yeah, that's I honestly don't really know a whole lot about it just yet. But whenever it gets into the I Ching and certain divination tools and stuff like that, I think that we're going to need to do an entire other episode after this, because we need the foundational stuff before we start getting to the mystical shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, anything having to do with divination, I feel like deserves its own episode, just out of respect, you know? And because I'd like to understand it and maybe utilize it myself. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, dude. So this all starts with a story, and I want to tell this story right here because there's a history, and I was like, you know what? I heard the story about how the book was created whenever we're talking about the Tao Chi Ching, Dao De Ching. That's how you say it. Because it's all T's, but you're supposed to say D, and I don't know, it throws me off. But anyway, all it means, the Tao De Ching, is the book of the way and its power. That's it. Yeah. Wow. And so it's said to be very poetic and paradoxical wisdom. So sometimes it'll tell you something, and then it'll tell you later on in the book to do the exact opposite.
It'll untell you. Yeah, I feel like a lot of things that are full of wisdom seem to be very paradoxical in that way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So there's stories and parables that challenge logic, which is always my favorite, emphasizing spontaneity and freedom from control. Surrender, baby. That's what it's all about.
Let go, man. Let go.
So, but yeah, I do want to get to the actual story here because this is going to paint a fucking awesome picture, dude. This story is, I just heard this story literally earlier today, and I was like, fuck the history. I'm just going to tell this story. This is way cooler.
Take us there.
So, all right. So this is about, let me try and remember how I'm supposed to say his name. Lao Tzu.
Okay.
Lao Tzu. It looks like lousy, because it's Laozi, and so some people actually said, well, it looks like lousy, and he actually has a lazy way about figuring things out, like a lazy spiritual understanding. Basically, you don't necessarily, like, life doesn't require your action or your opinion all the time. That if you just go with the flow and just kind of like be that. You know, it's kind of like a big boulder in the water, for example, right? Like you could stand there and you can try and go around it, you can try and go through it, you can try and go over it, but it might be really too big for you to go over, right? And so the Lao not lousy, Lao Tzu. So the Lao Tzu way would just remain consistent with it. Like you don't, there's no rush to figure any of this shit out. And he says that basically over time, that water is going to whittle down that boulder until it's nothing but a pebble anyway. So you just got to have patience and go with the flow and don't try and force anything, was basically, you know, the way that he was trying to portray it.
Right. I feel like when you're a kid, I feel like that's just how you are. You know? Like when you're a child, dude, you're not trying to force a whole lot of anything, man. You're just doing whatever you want to do. Just going with it.
Yeah, you're not necessarily in a rush for anything, you know?
Right.
So, all right. So the story here goes, the tale of Lao Tzu leaving the city. Okay. So Lao Tzu, the legendary sage and author of the Tao De Ching, had grown weary of the world. The city, full of ambition, ego, and empty words, no longer held any interest for him. So one day he mounted his ox, the symbol of peace, simplicity, and natural strength, and set off toward the western wilderness, seeking solitude and unity with the Tao. As he approached the western gate of the city, the guard, named Yinji, recognized him. "Wise sage," Yinji called out, "before you vanish into the mountains forever, please leave behind your wisdom. Tell us what you've learned." Lao Tzu paused. He didn't want to teach. He didn't want disciples, but something in the sincerity of the request moved him. So he stopped for a moment at the gate and composed a short book, a collection of paradoxes, poems, and cosmic observations. It became what we know now as the Tao De Ching. Then, without another word, he rode into the wilderness, never to be seen again.
Of course he vanishes.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I love these kinds of stories, and I love that kind of perspective because, and actually, this Tao Te Ching is not. It's not a book of like rules, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. They're merely suggestions, and they're basically just like he's saying things to get you to think. And you can look at it from whatever perspective that you want, but it's very parabolic in that sense to where, there's no one way exactly to take it.
Yeah, and I think that's how it should be, man. So this is the writings that he did eventually evolved into a type of religion. So at this point, it was more just philosophical.
Yeah. And to be honest, from what I understand, dude, a lot of this stuff was very philosophical until people turned it into religion.
Right.
So I think that because whenever you start to look into philosophy, it just means a lover of wisdom. That's all philosophy is. It's a lover of wisdom. It's Philo and Sophia. And so that's what it breaks down to. And so, some people actually wanted to learn and understand exactly the nature behind the message. And then over time, people started to take things very literally, looking at it from the completely wrong perspective, judging others for not following the way, and just a major fall from grace. But at its core, at its foundation, it is just a search for wisdom. It is, in comparison to what we were talking about earlier, as far as Neoplatonism and Taoism, it's, if we're going to compare apples to apples here. So you remember how the noose is always what was that word? Contemplating the one. Right? In the same way, the sage or the mystic or the philosopher is always contemplating the Tao. Same exact way.
Right. Yeah, definitely rhymes, dude.
Yeah, dude. So, all right. So we have the story there. It says, so there is mystical symbolism behind the story. The ox, a symbol of nature, humility, and effortless strength. In Taoism, the ox represents the mind tamed by the Tao, or by the Tao, rather.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool. I used to have this statue, and it was a bull, and then there was like this monk meditating on top of it. That's awesome. Which I guess it was probably an ox instead of a bull. But so the Western Gate, remember how he was trying to exit out of the Western Gate, right?
Yep.
So spiritually, West is the direction of death, transformation, and return to source.
Makes sense. And, the sun goes down in the West.
It do. It do. Yeah. So the sun would be setting on your life, and then the sun is reborn every day, right?
Right.
And so you got Yin Ji, which is the guard that was stopping him on the way out, asking him for the details about it. He represents the world's longing for truth, even as it guards the gates of illusion. That's deep. I love it.
Familiar though, being on that constant search. I don't think we'll ever be done searching. All of the greatest thinkers of the world are still thinking. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude.
It seems like this paradoxical drama, whatever this whole thing we call existence is. I feel like it is exactly that, just one big ass paradox.
Yeah, the second that you actually believe that you have it figured out is the second that you put yourself into your own illusion.
Right. And just like everything else, there's this point in life that you're trying to get to, whether it's a level of success or whatever it is. And then as soon as you get there, then there's all these other problems that arise that you never even thought would be there. And so no matter what, you're just always like chasing your tail.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that, which I like that, to be honest. I like the chase, the thirst, the constant thirst for enlightenment and truth and understanding and what are we doing here? Like, there's something about it that, it does refresh you with every little bit of knowledge. It does quench your thirst a little bit, but it's almost like you're out in the desert and somebody just gave you a couple squirts. It's enough to make it a couple extra steps, but then you got to keep learning,
Yep, that's it, man. That's life.
So here we go. Where was I? Okay, so Lao Tzu's disappearance As far as the symbolism behind the story, it points to non-attachment. A true sage leaves no legacy, no institution, just the Tao itself.
Okay.
There you go. So this story isn't just history; it's a it's a template for awakening. So leaving the world behind or exiting the matrix, writing the Tao Te Ching would equal leaving behind a frequency, not a doctrine. Very important.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
Very important. I love that part. And disappearing. So disappearing would equal spiritually the ego death, transcendence, and union with the way. Now remember, the Tao, I don't know if I said this actually, but the Tao literally translates to the way.
Right. Yeah, I think you did mention that.
Yeah, dude. So
interesting though, this mystical being, he just kind of vanishes. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, dude. So I did want to get into a couple of Taoist quotes here that I want to throw them out there and just make you think here a little bit.
All
right. And I do believe that this is a very helpful tool, understanding the way, understanding the Tao. Like, the more I looked into it, the more I loved it, and the more that you can apply it to your own life and just everyday activities, because so many people are in a rush or in a hurry or don't have any patience, or, they're sad because they don't have now what they hope to have in the future. And it's always never appreciating the now. Well, this is literally trying to show you that the now is the only thing that exists. And be like water. Don't get frustrated. Just fucking keep on whittling away at it. That's all you can do,
man. Hell yeah, dude. Well, show us the way, my dude.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I can show you the way. I can try and nibble at the truth here a little bit. Okay. But so these are classic quotes from Lao Tzu from the Tao Te Ching. The Tao that this is a great one. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. Meaning, if you try and say, I can teach you about the Tao, well, you're never going to be able to fully explain what it actually means. It's like the one. Like, even the noose doesn't understand what the one is. That's why it's always contemplating it, right?
Right. Oh, shit, that's cool.
Another quote here. Nature doesn't hurry, yet everything is accomplished.
Yeah, it always gets done somehow, right?
Yeah, dude.
Nature is not tripping over nothing.
It don't trip over the little shit.
Right. And we are part of that. We are nature. I still got to remind myself, like, almost every other day, like, I'm also a part of this thing. I'm not separate from nature.
Yeah, basically a tree. Another one would be, knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power.
Oh, I like that.
Another one would be, when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be.
That's pretty solid.
That's
pretty solid.
That's a deep one there.
Because if you already know you're this one thing, that really kind of takes away from everything else you could be, dude. Because you're so clinched on to this one thing, man. I feel like that's why we do this show, dude, because there's so much out there. And sure, there might be a base reality. There might be a one truth, whatever that is. But if you don't let go of what you think it is, then that doesn't give you any opportunity to at least explore other avenues. And then even if you come back to where you started, I think that's cool too.
Well, that relays perfectly into this next quote here, as a matter of fact.
All right.
Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know.
I'm going to just shut up then and just listen.
Yeah, shut your damn mouth.
Just shut up. Shut up, boy.
To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. We've definitely
opens it up, dude. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we've experienced a little bit of that before.
Mm-hmm.
A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath one's feet.
Every time.
Every time it does.
90% of the time, it works every time.
All the time. He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty. And it's not the final one. There's actually quite a bit of these. I do want to read them all just to try and give, like,
no, I love these.
I feel like the quotes tell they paint a better picture than just trying to describe what the Tao is, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I love these. You know, how there's like so much meaning within just a few words. Those are my favorite things, dude.
Yes. Next one is be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you.
Mm. And that's kind of hard to do, I think, sometimes. But when you get there, dude, I've had moments of that. And it feels just, I don't know, man. I tried to explain it to you, but I don't think there's really words to describe what that feels like. But it's very intermittent, you know what I mean? Like every once in a while I'll get that feeling of like, oh, I'm just like in this big cycle and I'm just a part of it, and like I can just be, you know, and that's fine. There's power in that, dude.
For sure. Well, so that was a list of quotes from your boy Lao Tzu, right? Or some people might call him lousy or lazy. These next few quotes are actually from another guy that was I guess, trying to develop this philosophy, or was just a thinker of the time, whose name was Zhuangzi. And I'm probably saying that wrong, but he was known as a mystic trickster sage.
Oh, okay.
My kind of guy.
Interesting.
So his first quote, or one of the first quotes, says, "Happiness is the absence of the striving for happiness." Mm-hmm. So happiness is the absence of the striving for happiness. Because if you're striving, then you're telling yourself you don't have it.
That's all you're doing. That's all you're doing is striving for it. Yeah. Instead of actually experiencing it.
The next one is flow with whatever may happen and let your mind be free. Stay centered by accepting whatever you are doing. This is the ultimate.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
All right. Next one. That doesn't make any sense. You have only to rest in inaction and things will transform themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You have only to rest in inaction.
I think people might have had a problem with that. You know, it's like, oh, do nothing, you know, and everything will just kind of work out. But it's an internal thing. I feel like if internally you're not feeling that rush to do this, or you have to do that right now, and like that's what causes the unhappiness inside of yourself, you know. And so, but no, I understand why people would say, oh, that's lousy, you know what I mean? Because, oh, you're just gonna do nothing and it's just gonna work out, like, you know, I don't know. Yeah,
it's basically inaction because you're not attached to a specific outcome. Right. Like you're not saying, I'm going to do this so I can get this. The Taoist understanding of looking at this reality is, I'm just going to be here.
Right.
And that's it.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
So some people might call that lazy or whatever, but I mean, I imagine somebody who's thinking like that is probably not stressing over the spilled milk, you know?
Right. Exactly.
So the next one is, great wisdom is generous. Petty wisdom is contentious.
Okay.
The next one,
petty wisdom.
Petty wisdom. Okay. I have to sit there and think on that one.
Yeah.
The next one is, once you know that you don't know, you start to know.
Oh shit, that sounds familiar, dude.
Dude,
we might have been onto something before we even knew anything.
I think we might have. Yeah.
I actually feel like I know less since we started this whole thing, which is just crazy.
Which means you're probably starting to actually know more.
Yeah, right. Just letting go, man. It just is what it is. I'm just going to contemplate and I'm going to be okay with that.
The next quote is, the perfect man uses his mind as a mirror. It grasps nothing. It refuses nothing. It receives, but does not keep.
I like it.
By the way, whenever I say man, I don't think he's talking about penises. I think it's more so like man, like mankind, humanity. Right. Yeah. So the next one here says, stop trying to control, let go, be like water. Of course. Yep. The next one is, the wise man is one with the Tao. He flows with the changes. Mm-hmm. Then we have yield and overcome, bend and be straight. Okay.
All right.
The next one is embrace emptiness. Be still. Allow the Tao to move through you. You know, they actually say that this is whenever you're trying to grasp a decent kind of understanding as far as what the Tao actually is, it's very similar to the Force. Like super, super similar to the Force. It's always all around you. It runs through you. It's you're made up of Tao. Everything around you is made up of Tao. Everything that was ever created is Tao. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like the Force. There is no such thing as good and evil. It's just you manipulating which way the energy flows.
Right. And I was watching this thing, and he was explaining like the yin yang, and how there's a little bit of darkness within the white side or the light side, and there's a little bit, and so both sides have a little bit of the other, and both of them are okay with that. Like there's a little bit of darkness within the light, and there's a little bit of light within the darkness, and it's just how it goes.
Yeah, you got to be able to embrace the darkness too. Just because it's dark doesn't necessarily mean evil, and just because something's light doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. Because even if you think about it, you look into even light magic versus dark magic. You might say that it's dark magic because you're calling upon demons, or you're doing something with blood, or you're sacrificing something, and then you might say the other. Right, and then you might say that the light magic, well, that's clearly the good one because you're calling on angels, you're burning some sage, you might light a candle, whatever, but all you're doing, you're just playing with the Force. That's it. Like it's always there.
Always been. Right.
Yeah, it'll never not be. And speaking of the yin and the yang, don't seek the light, just remove the darkness.
That's it, dude. That's it.
All right. So I thought, wow, this is very similar when we're speaking of Taoism and Neoplatonism. And so I was like, I wonder how many similarities there are here. But before we do get into that, we need to check out the chat over here because the one be blowing it up in here. Here we go. Resident Canadian said, what if the dark side is the light? Okay, that's where we left off right there. You really don't know what you don't know. That's absolute facts right there, baby. The White Boy Wizard said, the Tao of Pooh repeats the phrase, let it be. Dude, that's actually what they say. They believe that Winnie the Pooh was a Taoist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he was just like, anytime
just
something...
chilling.
Dude, anytime something bad ever happened, he would just be like, oh, Balda. Like, that was it. Like, nothing really fazed him,
Right. Holy shit.
Nora said, I'm sorry. No. Nora said, hey, everybody, how y'all doing tonight? Excited for this one.
Yes, having a good time already.
I'm especially excited because not especially, I've just been doing so many shows lately to try and get ahead, because we're going to be going on vacation here, in a few days. And it's like I said, it's way cheaper to go in the spring than it is the summer, so that's why we going this early.
That's next week, right?
That's in 2 days. We're going.
Oh, in 2 days. So next week there won't be a live, correct?
No. Next week, we're not going to be able to do a live. I won't be here. So we will resume the live shows the following week. But but I've been doing, like I was saying, I've been doing so many damn shows, which is great. I mean, I love what I do. Like, I love researching into things, whether it's on meta or the cult. Like, I love all of it, right? Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be nice to take a little breather for a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Try to, without actually thinking about it, try to just remove all of this bullshit, everything that's going on, and try to implement this, like, letting go aspect. And I'm excited to see what you come back with, because I'm sure you're going to come back with some wild idea or something. It seems to be how it goes.
Oh, dude, I told Louisa I'm not bringing my phone. Like, it's staying here at the apartment. I'm not even bringing it. I want nothing to do with technology. I don't want to check social media. I don't want to look and see how episodes are doing. Like, I just want to totally unplug from absolutely everything and just deflate, like let the air out a little bit. That's just... you need those resets from time to time. And it's not even necessarily like I'm sad or I'm depressed or I'm stressed or anxious or any of that kind of shit. It's just, everybody needs a little break from time to time.
Yeah, dude. Take that vacation, man.
Take it, baby.
We'll all be here when you get back.
All right.
If that makes you feel better.
It do. It do. Resident Canadian said, I can't wait for the Nora by Jonathan now.
Just become part of the show at this point.
Yeah. Nicholas said, cool background. Did you just change that recently? I was literally looking at the sun and moon tattoos yesterday. Yeah, I actually just created this right before the show. I actually have... I posted a picture of like basically the Taoist, the Taoist version of Meta Mysteries. So actually I can, let me share that right now. Put that
on the screen, dude. That thing came out really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet, dude. Oh goodness, I have all these tabs open. It is just getting wild up in here. Look at all this. All over the place. All right, but yeah, here we go. So this is the picture. Check it out. How sick is that,
dude?
You know, you got, dude, Marv transformed from an alien octopus into this ox who is just still guiding the way.
Of course.
Me and Sean have our little moccasins and sandals on up here. My hat is no longer backwards. I'm now wearing some kind of bandana, and we're wearing togas.
Yeah, dude. I mean, pretty much encompasses this episode, man. When you said that, it got me even more excited about tonight's show.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Pretty cool. So, where was I in the messages around here? Resident Canadian said, I used to play a game called Conquer online and I was a fire Dao. Okay. Check that out. He also said Lucifer, the light bearer. That's what they say. That's what they say. Yep. You know, which
paradoxical once again, you know?
Esoterically, yes, exactly. It perfectly said. That's exactly where I was going to go with that. Very paradoxical because, and this is why, you know, certain things I just don't vibe with. I think that a lot of people take things and misconstrue them and stuff like that. But also, I don't really care for looking at things exoterically. This is a very esoteric show. We want to discover the deep meaning behind things. And so even like that story about your boy traveling on the ox, he's trying to go west and the guy stops him at the gate. I don't care if that's a made up story. Like I don't need it to be real. Like we got the understanding from what they were trying to get, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But in regards to Lucifer in that sense, and like I said, I don't care about the exoteric story. I don't care about it. I just want to know. And so you got this guy, Lucifer, said to be like the evil one, the opposite of God in many senses, falling from heaven. Right, fallen from heaven, was at one time the most beautiful angel with all the amazing music, and literally Lucifer, meaning light bearer, meaning like knowledge and wisdom and stuff like that. And that's where you get into the whole story of like Adam and Eve, and was the snake actually Lucifer? And so you got the snake representing the Kundalini and the awakening. And so if you take something from the Kundalini awakening in that sense that it's somehow evil by looking into knowledge and trying to become wise, like that's not a story for me, you know?
Right. It makes sense though, as far as like, you know, if he's the light bringer, you know, does that mean that he's enlightened, you know?
Maybe.
I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. But anyhow, Nicholas said, beautiful, bright full moon tonight. Is it full tonight?
Full moon tonight, huh?
I have the phases on my watch. I don't know if that's full or not. Yeah, it looks pretty full. Yeah, okay. It's either tonight or tomorrow, I think. Either one.
I was actually looking at the moon this evening before the show, and I was thinking, you know, when the moon is like lower in the horizon, isn't it strange that we still see it, like it still looks the same as if it's above our head, as far as like there's no like, I understand the phase of the moon is what it is, you know, but like you would think because it's lower, it would just look a little bit different, but it's just like still facing us perfectly. I don't know. Strange.
It's because we live in a fucking simulation,
Maybe I'm
dude.
dumb for that.
We're in a simulation. That's the answer.
Yeah, I guess.
Let's see. Nora said it really is. The pink full moon is this Saturday. Okay, so it's coming up on the full moon then.
Cool.
And I'm meeting up with a group of ladies to celebrate it. The pink full moon. I don't think I ever heard of the pink one.
Very cool.
Normally you hear about like the blood moon, you know, like that's the pink would, I guess, just be a tinge lighter.
So you'll be on vacation when we have the full moon. You might have to take your crystals with you, man.
Shit, I might have to bring a couple of them out there. I was definitely planning on bringing out some tarot. That's for sure.
Oh, hell yeah.
Taylor said, I'm so excited for the full moon. Weather is finally nice out here in Colorado. I can finally see clear skies. That's nice. Dude, it's nothing's worse than going outside at night and it being overcast. I'm like, let me see some fucking stars, or light pollution and all that other crap.
That one time we were planning on seeing the paparazzi, and then it was like overcast and shit. And I was like, it just like ruined the whole vibe,
Oh, yeah. Where are we? Nicholas said, I live on the coast of Mississippi. It shines so bright on the water. Can't get enough of it. That's why we love Lake. I personally, I was born in Lake Havasu, Arizona. And dude, it's a very small city. And every night you look up, you just see like the most amount of stars ever. It's awesome. Especially out there with water. I mean, you're not going to get a whole lot of light pollution over the water, obviously.
Yeah.
Resident Canadian said, Jonathan is going Ted Kaczynski. How do I know that name? Who's Ted Kaczynski? I feel special for not knowing that.
Me too, actually. Sounds familiar, though.
I was hoping that you'd be able to... Oh, the fucking Unabomber? What's going on?
Oh, God.
Why am I the Unabomber? I'm going to need a little bit more input on what you mean by that, sir. Nora the Explorer said, jealous of Jonathan going on a cruise when I've been dropping 30th birthday gift hints to my hubby like a motherfucker. Nice. Thanks, Nora. And Nicholas said, dude, put that on a t-shirt. That's sick. I'd definitely buy one. Oh, talking about the yin yang. Yeah, it is pretty badass. All right, Resident Canadian. What do you mean, Ted Kaczynski? Are you just saying I'm handsome, or what's going on here?
Yeah, the first thing was the handsome part, and then the second part was you're going off grid. You're not doing any phone, any technology. He went to a cabin in the woods, and he just said, screw this. I'm gonna do my thing and create some bombs, apparently, which I don't recommend. Not my thing, but
don't do that.
Yeah, you're not. Just so the border doesn't fuck with you. You're not bringing bombs.
Yeah. No, I mean, maybe a couple of thought bombs, maybe a couple of truth bombs.
A couple of thought bangers, but that's about it, eh?
They're going to pop off a little bit.
You can't say bomb on an airplane,
No. That's my favorite word. But yeah, no. You're going to be going, if you take no phone, because that's when I walk my dog, I take no phone with me. We go in the woods. My mom hates it. She's like, why can't I get a hold of you? I'm like, Mom, I'm just taking some nature, I'm hanging out with my dog, and it is what it is. But yeah, it's really good for the soul, I think, because I actually think that too much technology can give you... I get headaches when I use too much technology, So,
well, it's the radiation, really. I mean, there's radiation, there's all of the Wi-Fi and, the cell service and...
EMF or whatever they call it.
All that shit, yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's, that's one reason why I'm going without it, other than just to unplug. But also, Luisa's going to be bringing her phone. If we need to get a hold of anybody, we still can. It's just that, if you have your phone, you're going to want to check it every couple of minutes or whatever. But I'm just like, I'm not even giving myself that opportunity, dude.
Dude, that's going to be so awesome, actually, And the thing that Jacob talks about, the whole silent retreat thing, that actually interests me. Just to go somewhere and just shut up.
Oh, yeah. You don't say shit for 3 days.
And you don't even feel the need to. You're almost obligated not to say anything and just be okay with that.
He's invited me out, and I might go out with him. The past couple of times I wasn't able to. I think the first time was whenever the baby was born. Literally, the time that he went, we were in the hospital. And then other times, for some reason, I just wasn't able to go for one reason or another.
You should definitely do that, dude. I think there's definitely something to that.
Yeah, but it's a Jesuit thing, so they're gonna... I don't know. Dude? Yeah, I guess who cares?
Just be there for yourself and for the experience of just not saying anything for a whole week or however long it is. I think you'll definitely gain something. If nothing else, an appreciation just for existing.
Oh, for sure. And I would, regardless, I would love to go on one of those, even Aaron Rodgers go on one of those darkness retreats where you can't even see anything, for a couple of days.
That would be interesting. I've seen some of those and they come out of it and they're just like, I imagine that's almost like what it would feel like, when you go to the other side, and it's like more real than real when you've experienced darkness and then reality all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, for sure. You would think it'd be like kind of like a reborn kind of situation.
Yeah, I think that's probably what you would feel like.
Out of the darkness and into the light, whether it's being born as a baby, being reborn as a religious person, crushing ego because who are you in that cave if you can't see anything, kind of thing.
Yeah, I bet you'd figure some things out. I'm almost positive of it.
Oh, yeah. Resident Canadian. Have you ever done anything like that?
No, this is a little bit random, but I had a falling out with a group of friends before. Actually last year, and we haven't talked since, and it's been really tough because I love those guys and we get along really well. And today we just reunited, and we hung out, we played golf, and it just like I had to pinch myself because like I thought I lost these guys, and then all of a sudden we're hanging out together again, and we're doing what we used to do. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Oh, that's legit, dude. Yeah, it's and I've stepped away from a lot of my old friends too, kind of just trying to evolve and not be around that way of thinking. It's not necessarily anything good or bad. It's just people split up and go on their different paths and different journeys and stuff like that. And at a certain point, you just feel like maybe not necessarily that other people are holding you back, but you're being around them is essentially kind of like you allowing yourself to be held back in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and then you come full circle and you all kind of get on the same page again. And it just feels pretty cool to be reunited with those same like minds again, because we all have the same conspiracy like mind and things like that. But, things happen in life and you get separated and then you get brought back together. And that's how it's pretty solid.
That's the way right there. It's a cycle of rebirth, or the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail.
Yes, dude. Exactly. Right on, man.
So as far as the similarities between Taoism and Neoplatonism, this is what I found specifically intriguing about a lot of this, because it correlates like crazy. Like, I wouldn't even say it correlates, it corroborates. They almost feed off of each other in a weird way.
Okay.
So in Neoplatonism, you have the one. In Taoism, you have the Tao. And Neoplaton,
just the force.
Just basically. The force. That's all. Yep.
Okay.
The source, the one, the Tao, same thing.
Okay.
You could even say God. Same thing. Universe, well, all of, and what's really strange is the idea behind the word universe. All it literally means is just one song. Right. Like universe, right? Everything working within unison, and people talking about like the multiverse and stuff like that. Wouldn't the multiverse still be a universe if it's all just one song anyway?
I think it would have to be, dude. Yeah, I mean, it's all part of the same thing.
It's still the one. It's
still encompassed within the one, right?
Right. So I don't know. It's just a weird thought that I had. So in Neoplatonism, the one is the ultimate source, being or beyond being, form, and thought. It's absolute unity, ineffable, and ungraspable. And then within Taoism, the Tao is the origin of all things, formless, eternal, unknowable. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. So you can't talk, like, there's no way you could ever describe it.
Right. So basically God.
Basically, and so the correlation would be both traditions begin with an unspeakable source that gives rise to all existence without acting. It just is, and it flows through all. I dig it. Then, remember, within Neoplatonism, you have the emanation, right? Like you have, so the one emanates reality through layers. You have the one emanating onto the nous emanating onto the world soul, and then the world soul emanating to the material world, all coming from one source or the one, right? But there's that notion of emanation. Whereas in Taoism, from the Tao emerges Che, or Ch. It's just Te. I don't know how to say that. Maybe it's De. Whatever it is, which all that means is just virtue or power. So from the Tao emerges virtue or power. Then all things, yin and yang, heaven and earth, and then the 10,000 things. So the story goes is that from the Tao emanated 1. From 1 emanated 2. From 2 emanated 3. And from 3, 10,000 things were created. And everything else in the world emanates from the 10,000 things.
So you get the 1 and then the 2, which is duality. So what's the 3? What would that be, like, symbolically?
Well, I mean, there seems to always be some kind of 3 within spirituality, right? So you got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. You have oh shoot, now I'm forgetting the triangle, and I don't know. It just always seems that there seems to be the power of 3 within spirituality, and so maybe that's something
and then
like
from that everything else.
Yeah, from that would be the yin and the yang, then the heaven and the earth, then the 10,000 things, then everything else that springs from the 10,000 things.
All right, cool.
So
Just want to make sure I'm on the same page.
Hey, I'm trying here too. You know, I'm still learning all this stuff.
Right.
I literally just looked into this today, so I'm sorry. And the correlation would be that creation is not a willful act. That's a different story, right? Creation is not a willful act. It is it's not a willful act, but a natural, spontaneous overflow. A lot like a fountain that flows simply because it is full.
Okay. Kind of like when you're in that flow state. It's like you don't have to try. It just is.
It just fucking is. Then you have the return to source. So within Neoplatonism, the soul descends into the material world and must purify itself to ascend back to the one through contemplation and philosophical mysticism within Neoplatonism, right?
Right.
In Taoism, the sage returns to the Tao by releasing effort, ego, and artificiality. Then you have the Wu Wei, living in harmony with the Wei. And we're going to get a little bit more into the Wu Wei here a little bit farther. So the correlation between the two would be both paths emphasize spiritual return through inner transformation, quietude, and alignment with the natural order of the cosmos.
I dig it, dude. I dig it. And see, this is the thing that's interesting to me is that these are two different people or two different philosophies, you know, that really kind of start to tangle. You know what I mean? Like they have the same ideas, the same like understandings, and where did this come from? You know, just through contemplating and going, oh, and it just makes sense all of a sudden, and then someone writes it down.
Well, and what's crazy is that so Taoism is way older. Remember, what was it like? It said like 6,000 BC or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then Platonism at first was, what was it, like around 1500 BC? So literally 4,500 years later, Platonism was formed. And then throughout the years, all the way up till today, Neoplatonism is still being formed.
Right, right.
So it is interesting because you'll take Neoplatonism, which... that was like from the philosophers of the Greek times, right? Yep. And so you got Greece, and then with Taoism is Chinese.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
Pretty weird how you're getting all these different thought forms that seemingly correlate with each other from thousands of years of separating, you know, in between each notion. And then you're talking about completely different parts of the earth. You know,
right?
So,
and all of them are just slightly different iterations of the truth. You know what I mean? Like
that's
I feel
it.
like
that's it, dude. Yeah. So then you have transcending duality. So you remember whenever we went over in Buddhism, that Buddha is essentially trying to get beyond duality, get beyond the idea of reincarnation, to not. Yeah, to not have to be caught within that cycle or within that loop. It's ultimately they say that even if you were to transcend in a way and become some type of mystical sage or a master or something like that, and so maybe your next life would be so amazing and so great, and you'd be a teacher and you're creating all this good karma and everything. Well, that just means that you need that even that life needs balanced out. And that's what's crazy is because of the cyclical loop, doesn't matter how, amazing of a life that you live, how virtuous of a person you are, how amazing works you've done, there's always going to be karma. And so
it's still in the house. Because
you did so much good, inevitably the bad has to counteract it. So that's the idea around escaping samsara. That's the word, just came to me. Yep. So the cycle is that you're trying to break the cycle of samsara and then just go back and be with the one. Or be with the Tao, be with God, be with the source. It's about joining the source and instead of just being an emanation from it.
Right. And there is no duality, correct?
Yeah, there is no there's you don't have to play the game anymore.
Right.
Your piece is no longer on the board.
Right. Right. Your little Monopoly piece is it's gone.
Right. And that way, whenever, you're going to have people that are praying to God, hoping to God and stuff like that. Well, now you become an aspect that is answering people's prayers and help forming creation and just observing all reality and everything else, that not necessarily that any of your actions would warrant any kind of duality or any kind of karma or anything.
From that perspective, everything is good.
It's all good. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Even if from our perspective, there are things that we would label as bad or negative, from that vantage point, it just is, and it's good.
You're just ultimate awareness. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
You're there. Oh, something good happened. Cool. Something bad happened. Cool.
Bad. Right. Right.
It's like, hey, it's just happening, bro. It's not nothing good or bad. It's a happening.
Just go with it.
So, as far as transcending duality within Neoplatonism, you seek to unify multiplicity into the one, beyond subject and object, beyond good and evil, and even beyond being and non-being. You're beyond all that. There's no attachment. There's no anchoring. There's just ultimate surrender.
And, from our perspective, that is very hard to even imagine, which sounds like something that would be indescribable or unknowable from this vantage point or this perspective.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
being
exactly.
Human,
There's no way of possibly fully understanding that. Because in order to fully understand it, you would have to fully understand what it means to be God or to be the one or to be the Tao, like... Maybe you might be able to understand pieces of it, but as far as understanding the whole thing, good luck.
No.
Not enough time.
Forget about it.
I mean, we could be here literally a million years and not figure it out.
Not even get close, dude. Not even get close.
Yeah, it's a fart in the wind. So within Taoism, speaking of transcending duality, Taoism embraces the yin and yang as a dance and sees apparent opposites as complementary aspects of the Tao. So a little bit different, but still talking about transcending duality in a sense. So the correlation would be that both philosophies aim to help the seeker transcend dualistic thinking and recognize the unity beyond illusion.
That's what we all need, dude. That's what we all need. We all need to try to have that feeling or notion. Even being here, even if you gotta fake it for a little bit. I think if you just get a little glimpse of that, everything just becomes that much easier, I think.
Oh, for sure. And it's kind of like our original song before we changed up our song, which I do love our new song, by the way. It's fucking tits.
Oh, yeah. It encompasses the show, dude.
It do. So, but our original song, it was us like kind of conversing back and forth. There is no you. There is no me.
Yeah.
The good old times. Which it was only a couple months ago. It was like 2 months ago.
It's only been 2 years or a year and a half, right?
Yeah, since we've been shooting the show, yeah. So yeah, I think that was like days. We did the song change like a month. Oh, it was like 2 or 3 months ago now.
Yeah.
Which it just reminds me of whenever I left Louisiana and moved to Texas, Jacob was one of the last people I saw before I left. We may or may not have. I cannot confirm whether me and him both tripped the very night that I left. Allegedly, I hear things, but
you could be making stuff up right now. We don't know.
This could have been a dream for all I know. I have no way of confirming it.
We'll just take you on your word, dude.
But at the end of that trip, he goes, "Man, it's the end of an era." And I was like, "Why do you got to do that? Why are you doing that to me, bro? Like,
don't make it sad.
Like, we're still shooting. Like, we're gonna talk every fucking day." But I guess it kind of was an end of an era in a sense, and more of just end of a chapter more than anything.
Yeah, dude.
So now here we go. So we have the sage versus the philosopher. Both sages. So the Neoplatonist sage would be so if you're a sage, you're philosophizing, and you're really a seeker of truth and wisdom and understanding about what all encompasses this reality. The Neoplatonist sage seeks the good through inner contemplation, withdrawing from the material world to align with the divine. Right? In that way. Then in Taoism, the Taoist sage lives in simplicity and spontaneity, in tune with nature, flowing effortlessly without striving.
Just like you didn't try to exist, just continue that, just don't try. I guess,
For sure. I mean, does the water of a river have wants?
I don't think so.
I think it just fucking goes, dude.
I don't know. I don't know, but
I mean, it has memory. It don't forget, but that's about it.
That's fact. Yeah.
The correlation is that wisdom lies not in knowledge accumulation, but in union with the source, whether it's called the one or the Tao. Doesn't care what it's called. So this is interesting. So the metaphysical flow. So Plotinus, right? OG that took Plato's writings and then ultimately turned it into Neoplatonism.
His understudy, right?
His understudy, yeah. So Plotinus wrote the divine as light flowing outward and inward in stillness and motion at once.
I don't know if I'm smart enough for that one, dude.
Basically saying that, like, if you look at it like this, so he was talking about the divine, so just substituted for God or the universe, the one, whatever. Let's just call it God, just so we can try and understand it in another sense. So what he's saying is that God is light flowing inward and outward, meaning that it's not out there. It's both out there and in here because it all is.
It's everywhere.
And it is stillness and motion at the same time, because we're talking about something like time, right? Like we're talking about time is just a dimension. Like we live in a dimension within time. And so whenever you go into those deep meditations, doesn't seem like time really exists, right? Sure, time is slowly walking by, but whenever you're deep into that meditation, could be 3 hours that you're in there and it feels like 10 minutes, you know? So yeah, and that would be regarding the stillness. As far as whenever you go into that meditation and you become still, the universe stops and waits for you.
I love it.
It's poetic, really, if you think about it.
It really is. It really is.
Whereas in Taoist text, they describe stillness as the source of motion, and motion returning to stillness. I feel like my brain is being twisted into a fucking pretzel right now, but I like it.
That's why they're the great thinkers, man.
Oh, yeah. And the correlation between the two, I love that it gets into the different correlations and whatnot. But so the correlation between the two, both see the universe as rhythmic emanation and return, a cosmic breath or a pulse, non-linear, dynamic, and alive. Let's go, dude.
Oh, shit.
Let's go. So now we have the simplicity and letting go. That seems to be something that, it's simple, but it ain't easy kind of thing, Yep. So simplicity and letting go. Within Neoplatonism, it says, let go of sense-based illusion and the distractions of the world to ascend toward truth. Makes sense, of course. Yeah. Within Taoism, let go of effort, intellect, and force. Stop striving, and you will know. Because you're in that emotion within that vibration or frequency of striving.
Right.
Saying, stop striving, bro. Like, what you tripping about? You're here already.
Yeah, the striving is what causes the suffering, because that's when you know that you're not where you want to be already. And so that's why you're just in this perpetual cycle of trying to get where you want to be and never being satisfied with where you are.
Yeah, and that's not to say to give up by any means.
Right.
Like, it's not to say, well, don't try, don't strive, or anything like that. It's just, I would say, and this is not their words, but I would say, if I'm trying to break this down, you still need to strive. You're ultimately trying to become a better husband, a better wife, a better mother, a better father, a better worker, a better friend, a better son or a daughter, whatever, right? Like, we're always striving to do things. Maybe you're striving to get better at whatever your hobby is.
Right.
And
but through the means of who you are, though, not,
right.
Trying to be someone else, or you're still you. You're still just being yourself, I think that's the core of that.
You still want to remind yourself in the midst of your striving that the striving is not who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That happiness isn't on the other side.
Right.
Because happiness exists always.
Right. And you have to allow yourself to experience that, even if you aren't where you want to be or need to be, at this moment.
Oh, yeah. You know what? There's this funny story, and I didn't include it, I don't think. Oh, wait. I think I actually did. You know what? Before we even get any more of this, I have a video that I wanted to share. It's a funny story.
Okay.
And let's see right over here. I had to look up who fucking Ted Kaczynski was.
You can figure out if you need to be offended or not.
I get it. I know he meant well. So this is an actual Taoist master. And listening to him talk, he's right in smack dab China. I don't know what city or whatever, but he is a Taoist master, so he teaches. And there's this guy that he's teaching, but he gives a really pretty cool story right here. So it's only like a minute or so, but
all right.
Yeah, let's check it out, dude.
All right.
Observe the Chinese character Dao. The first three strokes.
Oh, this isn't the story. This is him describing what the Tao means.
Okay.
All right.
Yin Yao and Yang Yao, that represents the yin yang balance. Then Zi, which means oneself. That means Tao is not far from you. Tao is within you. The last part is 走之, which means to go, to move, to act.
This is a pretty powerful idea. We don't have to rely on an external God. Through our own actions, we can find balance. Now, the obvious question is, great, tell me, what is this way? But the Tao doesn't refer to a thing. Instead, it's the underlying order that governs the universe. So defining it is a fruitless exercise. What is instead is important is to be sensitive to how the universe works and then try and live in harmony with it. That is what is meant by following the Tao, and Taoist teachings have many guidelines on how to do so. I've been reading the Tao Te Pu, which argues the children's character Winnie the Pooh is in fact a Taoist. It's a really fun way of getting into the Taoist teachings, and if you ever read Winnie the Pooh when you're younger, check out the books again. I did it recently. It's a real nostalgia trip. In it is a nice story that illustrates what it means to be a Taoist. Around a large pot of vinegar, crowd.
Here's the story. Okay, this is the funny story I wanted y'all to listen. I'm glad that he described the actual symbol of Taoism. I thought that was really cool. Right. But this story about the Taoist is pretty sweet.
All right.
Men. These aren't any ordinary men. In fact, they're the three founders of the great Asian philosophies: Confucius, Buddha, and Lao Tzu. Each takes a taste of the vinegar, and for Confucius it was sour. The world was full of degenerate people and corruption, and the world was out of step with the way of heaven. As a result, the world was sour, and what was needed was rules and rituals in order to retain order. Buddha then tasted the vinegar, and he had a bitter expression. For life was bitter, because man's wants and desires led to mass suffering, and happiness could only be found in leaving this world and entering nirvana. For Lao Tzu, however, he had a smile on his face. For a Taoist, bitterness and sourness only come from the unappreciative and inattentive mind. I asked Master Gu how it could be possible Lao Tzu could keep on smiling when tasting this horrible vinegar.
Human beings come from nature. We must follow the nature's path. Nature itself, there's nothing about sour or bitter. In the nature, the cosmos, there is its own natural rhythm path. Never to be too fast, not too slow. There is, he has its rhythm, its pace. We human beings also must find it, recognize it, and follow this heavenly way. So only depend on you, Erwin.
Okay, so we're not going to play the whole video. It's not very long, but I thought that it was pretty interesting whenever you're talking about like how your boy, the Taoist, he goes in and he tastes the vinegar and he's like, not bad, because you're going to have people like the Buddha. It says, well, everything here is already sour. Everything here, like there's suffering, there's all this nonsense, there's war, there's people killing each other. This clearly can't be heaven. And so I'm not gonna even like have fun in this place because it's only going to attach me to this place, right? And so that's one way of looking at it. But it also means that you're going to be waiting 70, 80, 90, 100 years until you finally get to that place. Whereas the Taoist is like, like your perception of something sour or something negative, that's just your emotional attachment to whatever that outcome is. Like you can literally, you define what is sour, what is bad, what is negative, and all these things.
You label those things, right?
Yeah, because you're the one that's feeling that energy, right? Like you're essentially, you might see something and maybe it'll make you feel some type of way. But that in that moment of you feeling that type of way, you're taking on the energy of how you're judging it, which is why they ultimately say not to judge things, not to judge people or anything like that, because that judgment is ultimately the energetic frequency that you're holding within inside of you. And so now you're taking that and applying it to yourself. A lot like whenever you watch a movie, you watch a scary movie, somebody's getting ready to get murdered, whatever, and you tense up and you're like, oh my God, how's that happening? Well, you're not there. You're not in that movie. Why would you tense up? Because the mind doesn't know any different. The subconscious doesn't know any different. So therefore, if you're judging others, all your mind and your subconscious hears, I'm judging myself. I'm judging myself. I'm judging. That's all it knows.
Yep. And let's take that on as reality.
Yeah, pretty much. And so
Nora, what you got?
Hey y'all. What do you guys think of the theory that Jesus or Yeshua during his missing years went over or traveled to China with his family and became a Taoist?
I actually I've learned about this before. I've heard about it in so Dolores Cannon actually wrote a book called Jesus in the Essenes, where within the Essenes, basically Jesus was following and not following, but he was leading these Essenes essentially and going all over the world, learning all of the different Eastern philosophies and learning all the magic and everything, right? And so that way he would be able to apply it. So whenever you literally have the years from, what was he, 12 until he was 30, completely gone, no record of anything that's ever happened to him, I'm like, how is that even possible? We're literally talking about the most famous human to ever lived. And meanwhile, I can go on to Twitter and find out when Kim Kardashian's taking a dump. It doesn't make any sense. Like, how can I keep up with Kim Kardashian more so than the most famous person to ever exist? And so I do believe that he had. This is not even just a belief, and it's not even just from Dolores Cannon. Also, within the Rosicrucian understanding, they speak about this as well, as far as Jesus going and basically like touring the earth and meeting all these different gurus and masters and magicians and everything else, which does make a lot of sense, right? Like, to me, Why is it that there are certain Christian philosophies that seem to match a lot with other Eastern philosophies, for example? You have the Hindu philosophies. There's a great deal of Buddhism within, underlings of Buddhism, underlings of Hinduism, underpinnings of really so many other ones. And so I think that he probably did travel, but people don't want to hear that. And I don't even, to be honest, I really don't even care if I'm right. It's just a story. But a lot of people don't like to attach themselves to that story because that means that he's not God. He didn't come here as God. He had to learn to be God. So that's why some people would look at that story as blasphemous.
And just to throw this out there, our Irish lads, for their podcast is called Are We the Crazy Ones? They did an episode about Jesus in the Essenes, the Dolores Cannon's book. So if you're more interested in that, I'd say go check that out for sure.
Oh, it's a great book, dude. Yeah, Dolores used to talk a lot about it. And even if you don't want to watch or you don't want to read or listen to that book, there are so many interviews of Dolores Cannon. I shit you not, probably 3,000 hours of video of Dolores Cannon speaking at different conferences and different years. I mean, she was doing it for a long time, and she documented it pretty much the entire way, whether she was going on to coast radio, or she was going on, different, like speaking events and stuff like that. So a lot of information out there, as far as the Essenes go, but obviously, she's coming at it from a different angle because she got those stories from hypnotizing people to go to past lives. And it just so happens that there was more than a few that had past lives of being the Essenes that walked with Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's pretty nuts. But I mean, I don't attach myself to things like this. I just find them interesting. Apply it if it applies. Don't apply it if it don't apply, kind of thing. Because we really don't know our history, bro. Like, we really don't know shit.
I mean, I already didn't know, but now I know that I really don't fucking know. Because how could you, really?
You can take certain things on faith. You can believe, there's nothing wrong with that. If it helps you, then believe it. If it helps you, then have faith in it. If it helps you, then know it,
That's it.
And there's, there's different stories all over the world. As far as these kind of things go.
But I think that's the point of all of this, dude. And I like what you said there, as far as like, if you have faith in it and it helps you, then believe in it. If that's what gets you through whatever it is, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Neoplatonism, or whether it's name your thing. If you believe in it, you put all your faith into it, you pray, or whatever it is, manifest, and it works, then there you go.
Absolutely. I mean, just whatever you do, don't half-ass it. Kind of thing.
And don't judge others for believing something else. I think, dude, just that alone, dude, the world would just be a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. Because none of us really know. And that's really the mystery behind all of it, is that nobody knows. None of us were there, right? Like, we are, we can try and meditate and maybe ask to project ourselves to the beginning of time, I suppose. But even then, how do you know it's not a little bit like you-centric?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But
then that's also nature. That's what I was thinking about too. Like, even like the certain deceptions or certain, even with AI is still sprouted from nature, whether you believe it or not. That came from us. We created that. And so still a part of nature, just doing its thing.
Just doing it, dude. Just fucking doing it, like Nike. So, all right. So we have Taoism and reincarnation. What are their thoughts on reincarnation? You might already have some semblance of an idea as to what they might believe, but let's get into it.
Okay.
So the Tao, as the source of all life, it is the video game itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a character in The Sims. It's not a tree. It's not even a city. It's not a state. It's not a big plot of land. It's not all the water. It's literally everything. It's the entire game.
It's the game. It's the power that powers up the game. It's everything.
And probably then some. And that's not even limited to.
Right.
So that's, as far as our perspectives go, Taoism is everything that we could ever even imagine, everything we've ever experienced, and everything else.
And more.
And more.
Got it.
So life and death are seen as natural transformations. Like the changing of seasons or the phases of the moon. Here's a thread here by Lao Tzu, who said, life and death are one thread, the same line viewed from different sides. Makes sense. So in that sense, reincarnation isn't so much a cycle to escape as it is a natural flow to harmonize with. Yeah. So don't sweat it. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. My boss was telling me this thing that his dad used to tell him all the time. He was like, don't sweat the small stuff, and the other thing is it's all small stuff. I don't know. I just thought that was really cool because we make things so big and we worry so much and put ourselves through so much suffering. And if you can just realize that it's all small stuff, don't sweat it. Just go with the flow.
Ain't no thing, baby.
That's it.
Now here we go. As far as reincarnation goes, it's transformation, not a finality. So, Taoists often speak in terms of transformation, not death per se. The soul doesn't necessarily end. It changes form, it moves on, or it returns to the Tao. So some of the text, because all right, so that book that we were referencing about the guy on the ox going to the west, he supposedly wrote a book that he said, yeah, here, I'll give you a little bit of information, right? And he's just stopping by before he ultimately goes to the end to be transformed again, right? He goes, I got this little book, 1,500 pages.
Oh,
little book.
Shit.
Took a little bit of time.
Book.
Yeah, took a little time with that
itty bitty book.
Itty bitty baby. But yeah, so where was I? Okay, so some texts suggest that when a person dies, the body returns to earth, which would be the yin, the spirit returns to heaven, which would be the yang, and the essence and energy may disperse or reconfigure.
Okay.
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
So that's not only suggesting reincarnation then. If it disperses, what's that?
Well,
everywhere.
The idea about your essence and your energy dispersing. So look at it like this. Maybe that would be more so your ego.
Okay.
Maybe that's what is being dispersed in some kind of way. Who you are in this life is obviously not who you're going to be in the next life, or if you do decide to go back up with the Tao. So you're still going to be leaving your essence back here because you're not going to need it with the Tao. And if you reincarnate, you're going to be a totally different person. There's still going to be the underlying you, of course. The subconscious, the soul, the spirit, all that is going with you. But the essence and the energy that makes up you in this life ultimately disperses or may reconfigure.
Right.
Which I find that term reconfigure to be a little ominous. Because if it's reconfiguring, then that means, are we talking about ghosts?
Oh, shit.
So the energy or the essence is reconfiguring. That's the only thing I can imagine. Would be like some kind of ghost or a demon or something like that. Something that's living on the other side.
Holy shit.
I don't know.
Who knows?
I could be totally wrong on that. That's just what came to my mind. But this aligns with the idea that souls can reincarnate, especially if their energy hasn't yet harmonized with the Tao.
Okay.
That's quite interesting right there, right?
Find that homeostasis of the Tao.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're trying to match the energy of the Tao, which, some say that God is love. That's all it is. It's just love.
Right.
Okay. Well, if you're like 98% love and then 2% something bad, negative, whatever, evil, then maybe you're not ready to be yet harmonized with the Tao. And so maybe another reincarnation for you, buddy.
You shall be reconfigured.
Reconfigured. Yeah. Or dispersed. So I don't like that term, bro. That dispersing kind of trips me out a little bit.
Makes you uncomfortable, doesn't it?
I don't want to scatter to the winds, dude. Like, I'm trying to keep going.
Right.
All right. Ultimately, like I was saying, Taoism evolved. And some people like how it evolved. Some people don't like how it evolved. There's many different ways of looking at the Tao. Remember what it said earlier. If you can speak it, like, you clearly can't. Like, you're wrong. You have a misunderstanding of the Tao if you think you understand it in the first place.
You can explain it to somebody else. But that's the thing, that's something that you have to only that you can only understand for yourself, from yourself. That's not something anybody could explain to you anyways,
Yeah. So with it evolving over the years, there were more ritualistic forms of Taoism.
Okay.
Especially as it blended with Chinese folk beliefs. So there's a whole spiritual bureaucracy, such as hell realms, heavenly courts, judges like Wan Yang, and karmic record keeping. Souls may reincarnate into different realms, such as you might be a human, you might be an animal, you might be a spirit, based on your deeds, spiritual cultivation, or karma. There are even Taoist rituals to help the dead transition, guide the soul toward a better rebirth, or to break the cycles of suffering or possession.
Oh, okay.
So this is obviously what it evolved into. It started adding a little bit more details, some more facets and stuff like that. Nothing wrong with it.
Of course.
There's not one right way. There's only the way.
That's right. Yep.
So now we were talking a little bit about reincarnation. This brings up the idea around, is it reincarnation or is it immortality? Could be both the same. Maybe they're a little bit different here. But advanced Taoist mystics aimed not for rebirth, but for spiritual immortality, becoming an immortal, transcending the cycle altogether. What we were talking about, right?
Yep.
Kind of like Buddha trying to transcend the whole cycle altogether, breaking the cycle of samsara. And that's the thing with Buddhism and Hinduism and stuff like that. They all seem to rhyme a little bit. Yep. Right? Like breaking the cycle and getting out of that kind of cycle. So how would you transcend the cycle altogether? Two ways it gives. By refining the spirit and energy through meditation, alchemy, diet, breath work, and virtue.
And all of these things would make your reality while you're alive better.
Yes. Right? Yes.
Thus creating almost a heaven before you die.
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah, you're essentially if you're living by comparison, if you're looking at yourself whenever you go and you look in the mirror, right? If you look in the mirror and you have a negative reaction, well, that probably says a lot more about the life that you're living than just how you're being physically depicted. If you get into the mental aspect behind looking into a mirror, whereas if you look into the other way. So if you're looking into a mirror, you love what you see, you love what you become, and maybe that mirror will reflect itself into the next life, the next cycle of reincarnation, or whenever you decide to join the Tao.
Yeah, I also think, I don't know ultimately like where you would go after, but I feel like when you're having that death experience, people have explained their near-death experience, and whether it's 10 minutes or 8 minutes, but it seems like so much longer. I feel like in that space, it can seem like an eternity. Like your DMT trip felt like time was not even on your radar, but if you did have a perception of it, it felt like forever. And so if you're living this way, you're doing the best you can, you're eating right, you're treating people as if the way you want to be treated, and then you die. I feel like in your mind, if you know you're doing everything the right way, then you go somewhere very fucking awesome, and that feels like forever.
Well, and speaking on that void that I experience on the DMT, obviously I do a lot of thinking. I contemplate on that shit literally every day. But speaking of that, I would say that the reason why it was so treacherous for me is because I was still attached to time.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, because I thought that I was going to be there forever. Well, what's forever if it's outside of time?
Right. You were still thinking about that fact, that attribute of the experience.
Whereas I could have just been there in the void floating around, no big deal. Hey, baby, this is nice. I ain't got worried about, there's no bills to worry about in here. No regular stresses or anything like that. So it could have been seen as a vacation, but for some reason, my attachment to this reality was too much to overcome, even myself, to where it caused me discomfort and displeasure whenever I was in the nothing.
Right. Which ultimately gave you an experience that was hellish, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It left me wanting. Go. Yeah.
Right.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So there might be something to that, man. You know, you finally get over there, and then you realize, like, oh, okay, I'm good. You know, I did everything right. And then you go on to something better, or you're dispersed, or you're whatever it is.
Well, and that speaks right into the transcending the cycle altogether, which the next step, they say, the goal was to unite with the Tao, not be recycled through the earthly realm again and again. Mm-hmm. So you could say that the void was trying to teach me that, and I was just a little too damn stubborn.
A little resistant. You weren't letting go, man.
I mean, how could you not, though? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sitting here like saying, you know, the blame game or the poor me game or anything like that. But like, I didn't know what I didn't know, dude.
Right. It was definitely a learning experience, man. And you're teaching yourself more and more every day from it. You know, so ultimately, I think it was a good thing.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, definitely. But so to round it up, as far as the Taoist take on reincarnation, yes, reincarnation exists, especially within mystical and religious Taoism. It's not a punishment. It's a natural flow of transformation. The ultimate goal isn't escape like in Buddhism, but harmony with the Tao. So you don't have to be with the Tao to be in harmony with the Tao. In a sense, that you don't need to escape this reality in order to be in harmony, that it's still where we're living is still an emanation of the Tao, and you can still dance in the light here of the Tao, you know?
Right. I like that. I like the way you put that.
Yeah, buddy. That's breaking off of Jim Carrey there a little bit. Right. If you live in accordance with the Tao, your spirit naturally returns to source. If not, your essence may return in a new form until balance is restored. That's a deep cut right there, dude. So if you live in accordance with the Tao, meaning going with the flow, living in the now, then your spirit would naturally return to the source because you would be vibrating at the frequency that the Tao ultimately is existing at, right? So therefore, whenever you go and join, it would be like, you know, putting some old shoes back on. It ain't nothing really too crazy or too separate from how you've been living your life here. Right. But if you're living out of frequency, you know, like you're singing a different tune, well, now your essence may have to return in a new form or reincarnate until that balance within you is restored.
Right.
So the ultimate goal is to harmonize yourself with the Tao. That's from this perspective.
Wow. And that really lines up with a lot of the things that people say as far as like, you know, Earth is a school, you know, and you got to level up until you finally get to this like pinnacle of being and understanding and empathy and all these things. And I don't know, dude, it's interesting. It's just interesting how all these things tend to rhyme, no matter what part of the Earth it's, you know, being thought of. And I don't know, man, I dig it. I dig all this.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yes. So, and you know what, too, is that I love how you feel whenever you listen to something truthful. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like your frequency matches its frequency in a sense. And is that not connecting back to the Tao, which would be the truth, which would be the divine love, which would be the flow of everything, that essentially the dead giveaway of something being true is how your frequency matches its.
Right. Exactly. Dude, I couldn't have said it better, man.
That's the good shit right there. So now, speaking of the good shit, let's get into the main types. Now, there are quite a few types of divination here, but to the main types of divination in Taoism. So we had mentioned the I Ching a little bit earlier, which literally translates to the Book of Changes. It is the most iconic Taoist divination method. So whenever you're talking about divination, the I Ching, bang, automatically that is Tao, or it's an aspect of Taoism. So it's based on 64 hexagrams formed by broken and solid lines. The broken being the yin, the yang being the solid lines.
Okay.
So what you do is that you ask a question, and then you would cast sticks. You would cast sticks, coins, or yarrow stalks to form a hexagram. The resulting symbol and its changing lines provide cosmic insight into the flow of your situation. So Taoists saw the I Ching as a living map of the Tao, showing the shifting energies of the moment.
Oh.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So like I was saying, it's not tarot. I'm not saying that it is, but it is kind of like tarot in a sense, right? Like you're looking at something, you're shaking some things up like we do with shuffling the cards with tarot, and then you throw it out, or whenever the tarot card jumps out of your hand, and that, however it lays, will be whatever energy you are emanating in that moment.
Right.
Like if you were to stay in this moment, you were to stay in this energy and in this frequency, then this is how your future would go.
Wow.
Kind of thing. Which is ultimately like what a lot of psychics say too. They're like, well, you know, I can see this timeline, I can see that timeline. Well, ultimately the timeline, right, that timeline is just based upon your energy. And so if your energy was to stay the same, which maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, who knows? Which most of the time it's going to bounce all over the place.
Yep.
But yeah, pretty sweet, right?
I love it, dude. I love it. I love the aspect of that as far as the divination is. What I was thinking about is like nature just kind of unfolding the way that it's just going to unfold. And so it's kind of, I don't know, it takes a little bit of the, I don't want to say it takes the mystical out of it, you know, because it's all mystical, but you know, nature just unfolding in a way for you to have something tangible, you know?
Look, if this is all a matrix or some kind of simulation, or we're living in God's dream, or we're just emanations from ultimate like reality, then already this reality isn't as physical as we once understood. Chance can't happen.
Right.
Literally,
already it's more strange than you ever thought.
Like literally nothing is ever out of place. Everything happens exactly as it should. So if you're looking at it that way, then there is no such thing as chance. There is no such thing as a coincidence. And if you just so happen to be in a specific frequency and you decide to cast a couple of these little sticks, and they just so happen to lie in a very specific type of manner, then that's going to tell you a story.
That's going to tell you something.
That's it.
And depending on where you are spiritually or where you are with your understandings of this reality, you're going to look at that symbol and understand it in the way that only you will, you know? Exactly.
Yeah. So nextly we have, so that was the I Ching. Awesome. Definitely should look into that. Like I was saying earlier, I think they have websites that you can actually do it from. Same thing. Doesn't matter if you're casting sticks or if you're clicking a couple of clicks on your mouse, whatever. Like you're there and you're the one that is ultimately observing it. And remember that, you know, with the double slit experiment, everything acts different, whether it's being observed or not observed. And so by your observation, even the digits, the ones and the zeros on your computer screen are going to act differently.
It's responding. Right.
Yes, exactly.
Shit. Love it.
Which is, you know, we dive into the same thing with the random number generator, right?
Yep.
Like, you know, on a 1 to 10 kind of basis there, if you're thinking 7, 7, 7, 7, I know it's going to be a 7. I know it's going to be a 7.
15% chance it's going to elevate that just because you're thinking the number 7.
Right. If you would do that 1,000 times, ideally, statistically, you would get Well, you would have, so out of 1,000 times, each number would be around 100 times each. Mm-hmm. That's the statistic probabilities. But whenever you focus on a specific number, that number rises from 100 to maybe 130.
Right. Maybe 160.
106. It's going to go up. Right. And how do you explain that if it's not your energy connecting with it or your observation that is affecting whatever's going on?
Mm-hmm. The universe presenting something that consciousness was asking for, you know? That's all it is. Ain't none. Ain't no thing.
That's a good one. I like that. So the next one we have is, it's going to be a word. Chi Men Jun Jia.
Perfect.
Which translates to mysterious gates hiding the Jia. 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 So this is actually an advanced, this is really cool, dude, by the way. I've never heard of this one. But it's an advanced military origin Taoist system used by strategists and mystics. It is based on time, space, direction, and cosmic energies. So there would be 8 gates, 9 stars, and 9 palaces within this form of divination. That's what you would use. And it's used for divining ideal timing, predicting outcomes, or guiding important decisions. And even today, it is still being used in business, in feng shui, and even spiritual warfare.
Oh, spiritual warfare and feng shui.
Yeah. And even in business, which I thought was the most interesting one, you know, like it's like they say that that millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do.
Yeah, dude. When you're messing with that much money, at that point, like, why not use some divination? It's like, you know what I mean? Couldn't hurt, I don't think. Unless you believe you're going to hell for doing so, then that probably hurt. But it's only if you believe that, I think.
Yeah.
What do I know, dude?
I mean,
nobody.
Don't use it then.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that was really cool that it was originally started to help within the military. That is
right. Of course.
And you look at China. I mean, they got a pretty solid military over there. They must be doing something right.
Oh, they're doing something. I'm sure of it, dude.
The number 2 superpower in the world.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I would argue they're probably on some shit we're not even aware of, dude. I'm a little bit nervous about China, you know.
I think
I'm not going to worry about it too much, you know, because that's just another attachment, I think.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, dude. I've been trying to look into like different perspectives on the rest of the world, because there's an American perspective of the world, and then there's the world's perspective of America, which are two very different things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I've been thinking about it here, and obviously I'm never going to be pro-communist. That's just never it never works, right? Unless you're a fucking ant in a colony, you're a bee, and you know you have the queen, and we're not that way.
Nobody wants that.
Right. Yeah, like we all like our individuality, and within communism, you can't necessarily have that. That being said, they are entirely against organized religion. And so yeah, I thought that was pretty strange, and I was like, why would you be against organized religion? And then I started thinking about it like, all right, what if they're right? I just like to play with these kind of ideas. Like, what if somebody's right that I disagree with? Well, how would they be right? You know? And so I was thinking about it. If they're anti-religion or against religion, well, isn't that kind of just like, it's not allowing you to become super deeply enrooted within somebody else's ideology? It's not allowing you to go within yourself and finding the answers in a sense.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's more of a hive mentality, right?
Yeah.
Like this is what it is. Don't even go inward and think about what it could be.
Yeah, I'm not even saying that's right. I was just trying to, if they were right, how could I look at that?
Right. Why would that be a thing over there?
Right. Because, I mean, ultimately, like it or not, religion has caused more wars than anything else.
It's pretty ironic, don't you think?
It is kind of ironic. So. Yeah. just people misinterpreting one story, which is kind of strange. It's all one story. And it's like, no, I got the story right. No, I got the story right. I got the story right.
This right here says I got to kill other people that don't believe what I believe.
Yeah. It's convert or die, biatch.
No, it is what it is.
I can imagine that if you didn't convert to Taoism, probably wouldn't be a war.
Right.
Yep. It'd be like, it's your loss. It's like, who cares? Exactly. So anyhow, let's move on to the next one. This next one is, all right, this is going to be a tough one again. Chai Yi Shen Shu, which what he said. It translates to the divine numbers of the Great One.
Oh, that's cool.
All right. So basically, it's highly complex. It's a numerological system based on cosmology and the Tao. It's used to predict global shifts. You can predict natural disasters and political fate with this.
Whoa.
Holy shit. So each configuration reflects heavenly movements and yin-yang balance. It's like predicting the swing of a pendulum. When's it going to slow down? When's it going to stay over there a little bit longer, kind of thing?
Yeah. I think the work that our boy Danny Goller is doing, I feel like it all ties into everything divination. Like it's already kind of written, and you're just kind of tapping into that somehow.
Sean, I called you yesterday for a reason, and I'm so happy that you just brought up Danny Goller because it reminded me why I called you.
That's my bad, by the way.
No, it's all good. So I was going down a TikTok rabbit hole, and I saw this guy talking about, oh yeah, I'm a DMT expert, and I've done it over 1,000 times, and I think I figured it out. And he talks about like how he's done it so many times that he is now like on a daily basis seeing and speaking with and communicating with his spirit guides and angels and Archangel Michael and all this other kind of stuff. And I was like, holy fuck, I went down, I listened to probably 30 of his videos. And just over the course of 2 hours, I just got stuck in that rabbit hole, dude, because I was like, I need more. Right. And he started to mention Danny Goller, and I was like, oh shit, this is right in line. Right. And so I followed him on TikTok, and I was thinking about messaging him on TikTok, but he had like 20,000, 30,000 followers. I was like, the odds that he even reads his messages are slim to none. And the odds that he gets to mine is even slimmer. Right. So then what I saw that he had an Instagram. And so I went and checked out his Instagram, and he had a lot less followers on there because his main platform is TikTok. And so I went over to Instagram, and I went to go write him a message, and I went to go follow him. And you know how whenever you go and hit follow, you can either, it'll say follow or follow back or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It was, my only option was to follow him back. He had already been following us. I was like, shit, what the fuck?
Dude, we're part of it, dude, I think. We're part of this, whatever it is that's happening, I think.
Oh, yeah. And so I reached out to him. We're going to try and get him on the show.
Dude, fuck yeah.
It's awesome, dude. Like, he's talking about all of this knowledge that he's interpreting, and it is super deep, dude. And there's I think that he believes that he found the missing link between humans and heaven or something along those lines.
Right.
Or something like that. Shit, so it's really wild, but
let's get him on, man. I want to pick his brain.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're definitely gonna pick that brain. But
we know that there's something going on, man. Like when you have these dreams and you go to bed and you have this weird dream, it's like I wasn't thinking about that at all, but there's this feeling that there's something extra happening there. Like just the other night, it was 2 nights ago, I was laying down, I was trying to go to bed, and all of a sudden I got this vision of a black truck with no wheels on it. And it was just poof, it was just shot into my field of vision, dude. And it almost sounded like a gunshot, pew. And then it went away, and it startled me. And I'm like, when you're in a dream, but you never really experience starting a dream. It's just always a memory of being in a dream. And this dream that I had, it's never okay, well, as soon as I went to bed, all of a sudden I started my dream. And, it's like you never feel that. You're just always just in the dream. And so I don't think it was an experience of a dream starting. It was just like a vision. It's like, what was that? Just nature doing its thing, I guess. I don't know. Strange.
I mean, if you really think about it, when would it start?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, I have such a hard time waking up every day. I need to drink at least 2-3 cups of coffee to even...
Just to get the motor going.
Just to speak, I need to have coffee.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Louisa knows. She's like, oh, you haven't had coffee yet? All right, I'll leave you alone. It's just
You're
like...
just like...
my mind
no
it doesn't compute in the morning,
right?
And so is it possible that, after my cups of coffee, let's just use me for example, after my cups of coffee, I finally become aware of my reality, right? That I'm fully like
totally conscious.
Totally conscious, both feet on the ground. I'm ready to tackle the day, right? So did my day start whenever my eyes opened, or did my day start whenever that caffeine finally kicked in?
Right. Exactly. It's just up to your interpretation, your perception of that, But I just thought about that actually today. Like, and I think was it today or yesterday? I was talking to Nick about it. It's like, you never really experience the beginning of a dream. It's never like, oh, here I am, I'm asleep. Oh, this dream is starting up. It's like you're always put like right in the middle of it, and it's just happening already. I don't know. Yeah. It does seem to be like that. I was just talking to somebody. Was I talking to somebody? Anyway, I thought you were gonna say, was I talking to myself?
No, I couldnn't remember if I was talking to my sister or who about this, but the idea of, whenever you go into a dream and you act like out of accordance with everybody else in there, that they all are starting to like look at you and borderline judge you. Like if everybody in the dream is wearing a hat and you decide to take your hat off, all eyes on you right at that moment, right?
Right. Like Free Guy, when he orders a different coffee, they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. He's trying to convince his homie to put these sunglasses on. You'll be able to see reality differently. Yep. No, man, I can't do that. I can't. I won't. And, but no, I just started to think about that. That's kind of in the same sense of what we're doing, if you think about it. Like, as far as this show goes, especially being in America, where the majority of, if you're spiritual or religious, you're going to be usually Christian, right? And so if you're speaking outside of that, everybody's looking at you, everybody's judging you, everybody's like, wait, what are you doing? Like, no, this is the game. Like, these are the rules, and you're acting out of accordance. It's the same as if you're not wearing a hat and everybody else is. Right. I love it. That's the place I like to be, man. All eyes on me. Look, you can live vicariously through me. I'm the weird one. If I get sent to hell, well, hey, that's all right.
Hey,
I'm just joking, by the way. I don't want to go to hell.
No.
So here we go. The next one would be called the Da Lu Ren, which translates to the Great Six Ren. It is a divination system using celestial stems, earthly branches, and our lunar cycles. It is deeply tied to Taoist astronomy and astrology. It interprets energetic dynamics, spiritual influences, and karmic tides. I feel like each one of these are eventually going to get a meta show, by the way.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want to learn how to do all this.
Question it.
Yeah, I definitely want to learn how to do all this kind of stuff. The next one, this is a cool one, is called the Tortoise Shell and Oracle Bone Divination.
Oh.
Also called plastrology. It says an ancient Chinese method that predates written Taoism, but was absorbed into ritualistic Taoist practices. Heat was applied to tortoise shells or ox bones, and the cracks were interpreted as signs from spirits or heaven.
Oh.
So it's kind of like reading the
turtle wasn't in there still.
Yeah, hopefully it was out of there. But it's kind of like reading the tea leaves at that point.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What was it? The Muslim dude that came on the show, and he was talking about
the coffee, right? The coffee cup,
the grounds at the bottom of the coffee, or how it's stained. That's how it's stained at the bottom.
Up. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of like that, but on a tortoise shell or on an ox bone. So you would get the shell or the bones really hot, and then how it cracked would be the signs from spirits or heaven.
That's pretty cool. And another thing too, it's interesting that it's a tortoise shell, because the tortoise shell actually has like 13 sections on it, which like kind of correlates with the 13 months or moons, that we would have. And so it's like directly attached to nature, in that sense.
Oh, that would be an interesting way of looking at it, because not only is it the 13 outer shell parts, but there's also the 28 on the inner, or it might be vice versa. I don't remember. So there's 28 either in the center or the outer ring, and then there's 13 either in the center or the outer ring.
Yeah.
So essentially that's all we would need. Yeah, 13 months of 28 days, and then I believe you would have 1 day left over, which I think is not even a full day. It's like 17 hours or 19 hours or something like that.
That's your remainder.
Yeah, just, take that day off or something. Right. But no, it's pretty interesting if you think about it like that, because what happens whenever a specific crack lands under the 11th month on the 27th day? What's that trying to tell you?
Where is that crack within that section? Like, there's so many ways you could break that down, dude.
That would be a cool way. Dude, all of this is Ouija board. All of this is Ouija tarot board. Cards. All of this is divination. And for some reason it works.
It's all the universe recognizing itself. Dude, I saw a picture of a galaxy, like obviously from far away, but it was like a evolution of the different images that we were able to capture with the technology as the technology got better. But I was looking at like the best photo that they had of another galaxy, and it just like, I don't know, it did something to me, man, as far as, here we are in this galaxy, and who knows how it happened. Maybe we were created. Maybe it was a big bang. I don't know. But like, here I am looking at this picture that we captured, that consciousness itself evolved to get this picture to look at another galaxy. And so it's like the universe literally observing itself. You know what I mean? Just, I don't know, just trip me out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just a mirror at that point.
It is. That's all it is, dude.
Fucking A, dude. All right. So, yeah. So, as far as the tortoiseshell and the ox bone, it says early versions of this were used by shamans communicating with heaven and ancestral spirits. I dig it. Right. The next one we got is called Taoist astrology, or called Bachi, which translates to somehow Bazi translates to 4 pillars of destiny.
Oh, wow. That's all.
It's like each letter is a word. But it's based on your birth year, month, day, and hour, each tied to elements and animals. It's used to read a person's destiny, spiritual path, karmic patterns, and best life strategies. It's very practical for life planning, matchmaking, and business timing. So Taoist astrology.
Wow.
All different types of these astrologies.
Yeah. And I believe it all works, man. If you break it down, like I used to look at that and go, okay, how could that possibly be real? But we've looked into certain things and certain definitions of certain times and everything else, and it seems to line up, and so just seeing that, I know that it works, but now I just have a greater understanding of why it would work, because you're just part of this whole thing. And for all you know, existence itself started when you became conscious, and so of course when you were born, that would mark a certain significant time in existence for you to, I don't know, look at certain things and try to predict certain things depending on cycles and everything else. And it makes sense,
I thought what you just said was borderline crazy for a second. And then I thought about it, sir, that reality started whenever your consciousness was born. Right. And I was like, that's not really that crazy if you think about it.
I don't know where that came from. You know what I mean? So
that's not really that crazy.
Through me, I think.
Because if time is not real, or it's just a facet of, our limited playground here, then that means that the moment that the universe or God or the Tao was created or was set into motion was also the moment that you just said that.
Right. So you're welcome.
Yeah. So the next one is feng shui.
Of course.
It says not just house placement, it's spatial divination based on energy flow or qi, the directions, and elemental harmony. Taoists use it for temple design, burial sites, and energetic cleansing. Oh, that is interesting. Temple design. So if you, dude, that's what I'm saying. There's more to the pyramids and the temples and all those like ancient type of religious and spiritual buildings. Dude, they really tried to encompass everything, all of the thoughts and all of the energy, all of the frequency of the stars and the moment of time that existed right then. They incorporated it and fossilized it and crystallized it and put it into a building.
Yep. And look at how everything's built nowadays, you know. It's just...
And now people are just like, oh, well, they got stained glass because it's pretty. It's like, so silly.
All right.
So silly. Silly goose. Next one, we have they have spirit mediumship and automatic writing. We like that automatic writing. Solid.
Yep.
So Taoist priests or mediums would channel deities or immortals using a wooden planchette, which is like that little thing on the Ouija board.
Yep.
Or brush to write messages in sand or ashes. Oh. Here we go. Similar to Ouija boards, but used ritually to receive divine guidance, warnings, or healing.
Okay.
Damn, who would have thought the Chinese had a Ouija board, bro?
They were on some shit, dude. I'm telling you.
It's fucking awesome. Next one we got is the talismanic reading with a little talisman. So Taoist priests could create and interpret talismans, divine symbols channeled during a trance used for protection, healing, or unlocking insight. So this is probably put together with the automatic writing. So if you go into a meditative trance and you have a pencil in one hand, you got paper in front of you, and then you're just trance writing, then you would come out of that trance, out of that meditation, and be able to put whatever that symbol was, whatever the scribbles on the piece of paper, and try and turn that into a talisman. That could be a way of communicating with the divine.
Yeah, you're pulling something from the divine when you're creating that symbol, you know? And so at the very least in your mind, you know it's something valuable. That automatic writing is really something, actually. You know, even if you're not making a talisman, if you just start writing your thoughts, whatever you're thinking about, what you're dealing with, whatever, and just let it flow. I feel like there's something that within your mind, it doesn't allow you to, because if you're sitting there trying to talk to somebody about your problems or whatever, you know, it kind of feels weird, you know. But if you're just writing it and you know no one's going to read it and you're just letting it flow, you're going to get some good, kind of like going into a past life regression. You're kind of just in that meditated mind and you're just letting your thoughts flow out, and something is going to come out of that. And you're going to be like, oh shit, you're going to find something out about yourself, I think.
Oh yeah. You know what, dude? I think what I may try and do once I get back from this vacation, I think it might be time for me to reach out to old John McCluckey and see if he wants to hypnotize me, dude.
I'm excited to hear that.
That would be fun.
See where that goes, man. Yeah.
I think I need it. It's been like 4 years now since I've gotten to past life meditation.
What are you doing?
Regression.
What are you doing with your life? You know,
slacking. So yeah, the talismanic reading, and finally, they have the dreams and the vision interpretations. So Taoist mystics often receive divine messages through lucid dreams, fasting, or deep meditative states. It is considered a natural form of divination, as dreams are echoes from the Tao.
Oh my God, this is probably my favorite one already, dude. I'm not gonna lie, you know, because I feel like, yeah, sure, having something tangible is cool, you know, having something like tarot cards or something like that for you to look at something physical and go, okay. But when you have a dream, that I feel like is probably one of the more important things that really doesn't get enough credit. It really doesn't, man. That's when you're really connected. There's no bounds. There's no reason for you to go, I'm not going to have this type of dream. That's too weird. It's just like the leash is off.
Oh, know? Dude, that guy I was talking to you about, I was looking into his TikTok and reached out to him and everything.
Yeah. What's his name, by the way?
Oh, I forget what his name is now. I'll look it up. But that guy, he just got done doing a 40-day water fast.
Holy fuck.
And he said, dude, he was doing DMT every day while he was water fasting. And fucking, dude. He was like, I figured it out. I got it. I'm like, I bet you do, bro. I know you do. I don't even need to believe you. I know you do.
I don't even need proof at this point. Like, I believe you. Dude, I'm going to start writing questions, like, starting today. Like, what I would ask this guy.
Yeah.
Just to see where that goes.
You never know.
Fun.
Get a little automatic writing in there, dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I know that people are starting to wrap up. It's getting a little bit late here. So I think we're going to probably wrap it up here. But first, we want to read the messages here just to finish it out. And then we're going to do, obviously, the tarot and the meditation and stuff like that. But so the resident Canadian said, I'm eating ramen noodles while you say these Asian names, and it feels pretty cool.
Authentic, dude. Authentic.
Yeah, that's funny. And then the white boy wizard said, I'm eating homemade waffles with peach syrup. Peach syrup? That sounds pretty good. Oh, no, we don't have peach syrup. We have pumpkin flavored syrup, don't we?
Oh, I don't think I've ever had that.
We have some kind of weird flavored syrup. I know that we haven't cracked it open yet, but I'm addicted to everything pumpkin, so I think I got it for Christmas or something like that. I'm a pumpkin spice bitch. There's no doubt about it. Like, sign me up for that. Yeah. I don't care what month it is.
There's something about it, you know, just puts you in that vibe.
Gives me the tingle. White Boy Wizard said 1,000,000%. You're part of it, Sean, my brother.
Hey, thanks, man. You too.
Resident Canadian said, shoot, boys, got to rip out of here. Stay greasy. It's a very Canadian thing to say, greasy, but yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, buddy. White Boy Wizard said, I never really thought of that. Definitely don't have a start point.
Right. Speaking about the dreams. Right.
Yeah.
You're just in there all of a sudden, you know. You don't even question it.
Yes, dude. Nora the Explorer said, I've literally been playing Assassin's Creed Shadows while listening to this. I know Taoism is Chinese and the Assassin's Creed Shadows is based in Japan, but it really feels like a yin and yang balance. And then she said, heading to bed. Night, y'all. Have a blessed rest of your week. Britt said, gotta go. See y'all in 2 weeks. Enjoy your vacay. Love y'all. And White Boy was just said, it's only 10. Let's party. What the fuck?
Where's the DMT?
I honestly thought about it today because I didn't have a show during the day and Louisa wasn't home and, you know, baby was at daycare and I was like, is it fucking time, baby? Well, I was like,
might be getting close, you know, just because you thought about it. But it might not be exactly time yet. Give it a minute, you know.
It'll be time when it's time.
When it happens, that'll be the time.
Yes.
Divine timing, man.
Speaking of divine timing, what card did we get there, Shauno?
Oh, yes, we got the 7 of these are clubs, right? 7, not clubs.
Wands.
What is it? Wands. I don't know why I always fuck that up. I want to call them like clubs or. God damn it.
7 of Wands. Oh,
and it was actually upside down. So, yeah.
Interesting. We don't get a lot of upside down ones.
No.
But the meaning of the 7 of Wands, it says, taking a stand for your beliefs is a necessary part of asserting yourself in the pursuit of your goals. You can handle whatever life throws at you. Prepare to leap to the defense of your position with the 7 of Wands card. You'll see a young man using his wand as a weapon to defend himself against the 6 wands coming at him. He appears to have been taken by surprise as he is wearing 2 different shoes. The rise to success is an entirely different journey than the one that begins once you've reached a goal and inspired envy in others. The identity of this man's attackers is a mystery, representing hidden challenges that inevitably arise and must be dealt with. How you address these obstacles and opponents determines which new levels of success will soon be within your grasp. But you said it was reversed.
It sure was.
The reversed meaning, it says the reverse 7 of Wands can suggest you're letting your anger get the best of you by acting defensive and hypervigilant about your beliefs when challenged. It can also point to feeling defeated, as though standing up for yourself is pointless. Instead of lashing out when provoked, you may tend to internalize your anger and frustration. If this is the case, consider journaling about your feelings and then having a conversation after you've had a chance to calm down and assess the situation. Your emotions are valid and deserve to be expressed.
So weird how we were just talking about automatic writing and trying to figure out some shit, you know?
That is weird.
Something to it, dude.
Yeah, dude. Well, and this whole show was about letting go of all of that. So if this was something that people were dealing with possibly before listening to the show, then you would, if you're trying to get over this, I'm not going to say negative energy from this card. No such thing as negative or positive in the Taoist sense. But if you're trying to transmutate that essentially and live more in harmony with the Tao, then, this episode would have probably washed that all away, I think.
I think so. And this dude really does have a low top and a high top.
Yeah, he do.
Different shoes, dude.
Yeah, he do. So let's see. So yeah, it's the 7 of Wands. Oh, the 7 it stands for strategy and planning. So literally you got the reversed of that. So there's no strategy and no planning, which is kind of
just going with the flow.
Kind of Taoist in nature.
That was, oh yeah.
There we go. All right.
Of course it lines up, my dude, as it always does.
Of course it do. Yeah, Louisa said it's pumpkin spice syrup. I thought it was. I need to get on that. I've been trying to not eat pancakes and waffles and all that kind of shit, but fuck it, dude. I just had pizza today. What's a waffle to it?
Throw a couple waffles in there, baby girl.
Yeah.
Don't hurt that much.
White Boy Wizard said, we made some DMT, obviously fucked it up a little bit because it gave us the rush, but none of us fully blasted off. Need to try and get the good stuff and try again. Channeling our cult spirit animal, taking dabs to the dome. Let's go. Yeah, the platypus, as he's also known as. But yeah, dude, I don't know if I'd ever have the balls to try and create my own DMT. Like, what if you blast off and never fucking come back, dude? That would be...
It's already seemingly, it could be a scary place to go. So the last thing you want to be worried about is like, oh, I made this myself. What if I fucked up?
Not necessarily... it's not necessarily to say that, anything negative about it. I mean, where I got mine was from the guy that made it. And I trust that guy. Right. Not naming names here, but yeah, so I think that, anybody's probably capable of it. And actually that guy explained to me how it was made. And I was like, I could probably do that,
Yeah.
But I'll just keep on taking it from the chemist.
The chemist.
Yeah. So what do you mean it came out? It gave you the rush, but you didn't blast off. I wonder if that means if you didn't do enough.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one or the other. So the dude that you just described, I have my own equivalent here, and I was with his family. That was why I even was like willing to be part of it in the first place, because they've been doing this for decades. And we got a little tipsy. It was a Sunday barbecue and a cook up. And at one point, you got to freaking change bottles, or I can't remember exactly what we were doing, but we put the wrong stopper in the top of the tube, and it sucked it all the way down into the fucking bowl. And so we had to spend like an hour trying to get that fucking thing out of there and then continue the process. So I'm sure it fucked something up a little bit. And if not, I mean, it's the only time I've ever done it. Like, I've done lots of everything else, but I've never got my hands on that shit. So anyways, I was trying to take it using a dab rig. And that's like, I had heard the rule that like, got to get 3 good ones, and then, you should be on your way. And so that's what I was trying to do. And I tried like 3 times within like 90 minutes. And the last one, definitely like, I closed my eyes for a second, dude, and like went whooshing through this fucking tunnel and like came up upon this door, and there was like black shadowy figure like holding the door. But like, that was like all that I saw, and it like wasn't a scary like black shadowy figure. It was just like, I don't know, it was a weird situation, but I felt like if that door would have opened, I would have blasted off and gotten to all the fucking secrets of the universe. But that's kind of where it stopped, and that was, I opened my eyes and it was over, and that's my only experience so far.
Right. Yeah, it either doesn't last long enough or it lasts way too long. And there's like no in between. You know what I'm saying? Like, the first time that I did it, I was like, fuck, I love this. It's so awesome. Give me more. And then the second time I was like, I'm good for a while.
Too much.
I'm good. I'm good on that
Get
shit.
Get me out of here.
I'm curious to see what like visuals and stuff I'll see, because when I get down on the shroomies, I like, not every time, but I definitely like to hit like a hero dose, walk around with fractals every time I close my eyes or whatever. Like, I just imagine the good times I could be having on some DMT.
Well, and you know what, dude? I'm actually, I'm definitely going to be doing 4-ACO again. I don't even question. That's 100% going to happen. But DMT, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. Because I know that I can handle the 4-ACO, and I handled the DMT the first time. And if I probably just did a regular amount instead of being a jackass, I probably would enjoy it again. But that being said, you see a bunch of awesome things on the 4-ACO DMT. Like, I'm talking about whether you got your eyes closed or they open, you are seeing a holographic overlay on top of this reality that is always there, and you can't believe that you've ever missed it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's always changing. Like, it changes with music. It changes with spoken word. It changes if the fucking AC kicks on. Like, it's like
you're in a different vibe already, dude. You close your eyes when you go inward, man. That's where it's at, man. Like, it's cool when you see the overlays or you see the geometric shapes kind of just glowing in the background of certain things, or you look at the sky and the stars are kind of flashing at you in a different way. But when you close your eyes and you go there, that's a whole different place. It's a whole different place.
Yeah, it is pretty intense. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm trying to look for that guy because I want to... Oh, here he goes. Okay. So on TikTok, if you want to find this guy and follow him on this journey, bro, on TikTok, his name is Brad of Arc, ARC. And but anyway, so I went on to his Instagram and his TikTok and everything else. He had a link tree, and on that link tree, he had these different Spotify playlists. And so he has your regular music that you would listen to while you're on DMT or 4-ACO DMT or whatever, that are going to vibe with you in positive ways. And then he has this other one, which I think is hilarious. He has this other one. So the regular DMT playlist on Spotify that he created is called DMT Textures. So maybe, pointing out to the fractals or, the geometry of it. The next one, he calls it Find the Key Spotify playlist. It says, this is for advanced DMT users. Using this in the beginning will be overwhelming.
I believe it, dude. Yeah. I believe it. When you were putting on that playlist that you put on, man, that was something else, man. Like, I don't know, I was seeing like these gears, and I don't know, man. It's indescribable, man. But it was definitely there. Like, I was seeing something that's just playing out, and I'm just peering into it. Yeah,
and it makes you wonder: are you seeing this because of the music, or are you seeing this because of the DMT, or are you just at that perfect moment in time where a union occurs and there was no chicken or egg? Like, you'll start to have weird thoughts like that, because how is it that what I'm seeing visually is correlating perfectly with what I'm listening to? So much so that even whenever I did that DMT, it was like when the song ended, my trip ended.
Mm-hmm.
And it was perfectly correlating with it. So the first time that I did it, it was like a more of an upbeat kind of meditative song. It was actually ketamine music. But that was Nick's idea.
Want to try that too.
I can't say anything about that, but so it was like more upbeat type of music whenever I had it the first time. The second time, it was like a little somber, a little sad even. And I was like, oh man, I wonder if I should change this, before I took that super huge hit. And I wish I would have. Yeah.
Dude, when I think of that night where you're like, oh, it's time to go inward, we're going to close our eyes. The one song that I think of like immediately is that Gooey song. Like, that's the song that I remember seeing those gears, and it was like this thing that was like, there was like a bunch of them, and they were like, I don't know, they were like hacking away at something, and it was just like, I don't know, I got this feeling like, oh, it just is what it is type of thing. Like, this is just how it's gotta go. no matter what I do about it, this is just the reality of this situation.
Yeah,
of existence.
Yeah. What is the name of that song? Gooey
It's
by
like Gooey by it was like Peanut Butter Vibes or some shit. Remember? Yeah, dude.
Gooey by Glass Animals.
Yeah. We're probably not gonna be able to play this, but I can't hear it.
Oh damn.
But yeah, basically the way that song goes, and you're just like, you got your eyes closed, and oh my God, it was like nothing I've ever seen before, but very organized and very is what it is type of thing. It wasn't like so sporadic and what's the word? I can't think of the word, but where things are just kind of, you can't make anything out. No, it was very clear and obvious what I was looking at. And still I couldn't describe it.
And in that song, I liked it too because it was almost like an ASMR type thing where you could, before the guy is starting to sing, you can hear him taking a breath as he's about to say something.
Yeah,
and that like,
layered.
Yeah, but that like being on Foreco or regular DMT, that the breath is like, it's a different level whenever you go and take a breath. Dude, you feel if you yawn, it is borderline orgasmic. Like, it is next level type shit.
Right. Yeah, dude.
But anyway,
it's all in the breath, man.
We're rambling on now. Let's get to that meditation. You ready for that, Shano?
Oh, I'm ready, dude. It's been a minute, man. I think I'm in need.
All right. So for those still listening, we are going to be getting into a meditation, and it's a Tao Masters inspired relaxation meditation healing. Connect with the flow of the universe. We're going to listen to it for probably 10, 15 minutes, or maybe time just won't exist and we'll be in there for days. Who knows? But it's going to be weird. It's going to be wild. And the only way to be able to listen to this, at least if you're trying to listen to this on the episode, would be to go to patreon.com/metamysteries. That link is down in the show notes. And if you sign up for the Meta Mysteries Patreon, you'll be able to join us every Wednesday night for Wonder Wiz Days. You can join in on the conversation. Maybe you have a story that you want to tell the one. Maybe you just want to come here in person and hang out with us as we dive deep into the esoteric mysteries. Yes. That's always fun too. We're trying to build the one up and just try and, open up some third eyes.
Plus, what else is going on a Wednesday night? You know what I mean?
What are you doing?
Spice it up. Yeah, let's do something.
Get excited for Hump Day again. Make Hump Day great again.
Yeah, there it is.
So, but if you do want to stick around, we will get into like what we experience. We'll talk a little bit about it as far as the meditation goes. So that will also be included in the podcast version and on the YouTube version. By the way, I don't know if many people even know this. We do have a YouTube channel that we just created. Those YouTube shows will be getting uploaded the same day that they are uploaded on the Cult of Conspiracy podcast, which is every Monday and Friday. But if you want to be able to get the shows a few days in advance, a week in advance, sometimes even more than a week in advance, then you would be able to, or you would have to go over to Patreon. So Patreon is the place where it is the be all, end all, everything Meta Mysteries. So yeah, go check that out. But if you're okay waiting a couple of days, if you don't care to really join us, you got other things going on. I mean, I get it. You can't support everybody. It's totally fine. We're just happy to be here with you on your journey, whether it's for a couple of minutes or for a few years.
Yeah, that's it, man. And we're happy to have you on our journey. It goes both ways.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So with that being said, if the Taoism came here and it taught you anything, it's that you don't know what you don't know. So don't just get weird.
Stay weird.
In a realm where shadows dance with light, through the whispering woods at night, secrets echo through the air, meta mysteries everywhere.
Shano, what are your thoughts, sir?
Jono. Dude, I was digging that. It was very relaxing, man. I feel like I really needed that. And that's the only time that I feel that relaxed. Like, obviously when you're sleeping, you're super relaxed, but you're not experiencing it. And so, like, that's a good time to really enjoy and experience that amount of relaxation, dude. I was in there. you know.
in their like swimwear. Yeah, it was nice.
It was very nice.
Yeah, you know what? I actually spent my entire time in there contemplating the Tao, and
Of course.
attempting to anyway. And it wasn't very long. We only did for 11, 12 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like I got what I needed personally.
Mm-hmm.
And in there, what I may, I don't want to say I figured out anything, because I don't know. That's kind of lame when people say, I figured it out, dude. You know, but what I came to understand, at least, or what I thought I understood at the moment, was that, you know, we were talking about how whenever you die and then maybe you recycle or you go back with the Tao, and then whatever else is kind of dispersed, like your other essence and other energy, that chi is dispersed. And I was thinking it actually does make sense, because who you are within your meditation, you're not your essence. You're not like your egoic self, because you don't have any want or any need or any longing or any
zero inclinations for anything.
What are you going to get in there? You can't buy anything in meditation. You know what I'm saying? Like, where you're at is I think whenever you're deep enough in meditation, that is who you truly are. Like whatever, like the absolute core of you is you in the deepest of meditation. And I was starting to think that. I was like, okay, so of course, yes, you would want to wash yourself or rinse yourself of all of your earthly wants and all of your earthly desires. First off, you can't eat anything when you're in meditation. You can't have sex with anything when you're in meditation. You're never going to have too much or not enough money in meditation. You're not going to worry about your collectibles or any kind of fun games that you're going to play. You're not going to do that in meditation, right? So, and a lot of people, that's how they identify themselves with. Well, it's, you know, I'm this sex, I'm attracted to that sex, I'm into this kind of game, that's who I am.
I'm this political party, right?
Yeah, I mean, who gives a shit about politics while you're in meditation?
Yeah, you're not thinking that.
So you're literally taking off all the things that don't matter. And to be honest, this is where I'm going to take it to get even weirder. A lot of people, you know, of course, within past life regressions, you experience life as a human, right? But what happens if you, once you die, that you go into another reality? Let's say you decide to enter back into the cycle of samsara. And once you're in there, it is a completely different reality. The wants, the needs, the dislikes, the likes, the pleasures, the hobbies, every single thing is completely different. As a matter of fact, everybody's everything is everything different over in this other reality. There's no need for sex. There's no need for this. There's no need for food or any of that, because you don't have those wants or those needs or even the physical or mental capacity to even think about wanting or needing those things in that reality.
Right.
Right.
It's
right.
not even a thing. Right.
So yeah, if you're dying and you have some kind of attachment to this material reality, that I guarantee you is the thing that anchors you, that it anchors you into this cycle of samsara, reincarnation, coming back into this human reality. You know what I mean?
Yep. You're holding on to those things that you're addicted to, or you're so just attached to that is your being, your essence, you know what I mean? At least in your mind. And so, yeah, it would keep you anchored to this physical reality, or at least, you know, your perception of this physical reality.
Yeah. Sense. I would say so. And I think that, I don't even want to say it's a trick. Although old boy was considered a trickster sage, but I don't think that it's even a trick that we get tricked back into coming here or anything. I think that it actually, and this is just me right now at 34 years old, year 1.5 of this podcast, my opinion on all of this could literally change next week, but or within a couple years, maybe it never changes. I have no idea. But my understanding as of right now is that is who we are. And so if you're worried about, reincarnating into this reality, well, maybe the only way to defeat that is to get to that level of understanding that it's your attachment. And this is something that kept on coming in my mind all day earlier, was just the word anchor. Like an anchor being an anchor object, something that would keep you attached to this reality. And of course, I was, thinking about it as far as the whole void thing earlier, like, oh, well, how do I maintain some sense of even who I am if I don't have something to anchor myself to? Right. So like, well, let's say you smoke DMT and you hold on to a trinket. What was it in that movie? You know what I'm talking about? The fucking spinning top, right?
Oh, yeah. Inception.
That was his anchor.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Let him know that, he was in base reality.
Right. So you never lose that sense of where you are or who you are. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that it is that very anchor once you die, that if you grasp too tightly is what brings you back here.
Holy shit, dude. I know that you say that when people say they figured it out, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? But there might be something there, dude. I think you might have just got something out of there. Even if it's just a little bit of that was true, Still, even for you. I mean, it doesn't matter if anybody else likes it. If that's how you choose to see it, then I think that's what's important, dude.
Well, dude,
and I think that goes for everything.
I mean, think about it. Like, you'll get military veterans or drug addicts or, somebody who was beaten or abused in a relationship that is very scarred and stuff like that. They go in and they try, ayahuasca or DMT or something like that, and it completely releases them of it.
Yeah.
Like, you no longer have a need to smoke cigarettes. You no longer have that fear of dying from war, or anything like that. Like, it's like it can be used as like helping you detach from your reality anchor while you're here.
Yeah,
and so
because it's what you've been, sorry, not to cut you off, dude, but it's like, it's something that you have to associate yourself with. And so, like, if you want to put it in regards to leaving a bad relationship, let's say you've been beaten or just abused in any way, really, you go to a new relationship, and if you're still attached to that association with being abused, then you're just going to bring that into the next relationship. And then you might even manifest it because you're almost like egging it on or something. It's because it's what you're used to. And so I don't know.
Right. Well, and that's what I was saying, as far as, just to use DMT as an example. I don't think that you need DMT to figure this shit out. Like, this didn't come to me on DMT. This came to me in meditation. You know what I'm saying? And I think meditation is just as powerful as anything else, to be honest.
Absolutely.
And sometimes even more powerful, because now it's you. It's not the substance or anything outside of you. So,
yeah, dude, I like it.
But that being said, as far as, those people that do try the DMT or whatever, and they coming from those terrible situations, what is it that makes those fears or those worries or those addictions, what is it that makes all of those things fall off?
The disassociation with who you thought you were, the ego coming down.
Well,
and then you get to see from that perspective a new kind of a renewed version of your existence, and understand that there's much more that's possible. And
yeah, a little bit of that for sure. I mean, exactly that. But just to add on
sure
top,
some of that was right. I don't know.
No, yeah, all of it for sure. But where I was going to take it is because I think that whenever you're above the influence on those things, or you go super deep enough into a meditation, or you have a crazy enough past life regression, or whatever the case is that you figure out who you actually are, the core you, the subconscious you, the energetic you. And the energetic, the subconscious, the spirit, the soul, the higher self version of you doesn't need a cigarette. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna smoke a cigarette in there. You don't need sex in there. You don't need any of that shit. So if you just, and it could just be a split second that you realize that, and then it's just something that you hold on to forever, and that's probably what helps you, kind of veer away from all the negativity.
That's it, dude. I like it. It's the version of you that gets to stay within the space between the notes. You know, that's you.
Yes. Well, and that's what I was doing as far as the whole contemplating on the doubt, dude. I love this shit. But but as far as contemplating on the Tao, I just kept on thinking, all right, contemplate on the Tao, contemplate it. Think about what the Tao is. And then I remember what it said earlier is the best way to contemplate on the Tao is to try to harmonize with it. And I was like, that's interesting. How do you harmonize on something that I just learned about today? You know, but is it really something that we just learned about today, or is it just a different definition of something that we've already known?
Yeah, it's definitely not something that you're just experiencing today. You experience this every day of your life. You know, it's just a matter of where you're putting your awareness and just understanding and recognizing that it's there. That's it, dude. You know?
That's the good shit right there. So yes, harmonize with the Tao. This was a fucking episode and a half, dude.
It sure was, dude. I feel like I learned a lot, dude, and I understand now that there's even more that we need to understand, because I just love this shit, dude. It just opens this world up so much more, you know, and I'm ready for it, man. Here I am, you know.
Yes. So, we will continue the journey.
Oh, indeed we will. You know we will.
Yeah. What up, white boy wizard? Oh yeah. Let's hear about what you experienced, bro. We're over here like fucking bogarting the whole conversation.
Gabbing it up, dude.
Oh, you're all good. I was trying to recall if you guys had done an episode on Ibogaine or not.
I don't think so.
No, but I have heard about Ibogaine. Yeah. Like it's like one of the best things people are using to get themselves off of drugs, right?
Yeah, well, so it like does like a straight up like factory reset, but is also one of the heaviest hallucinogens like in the world. But more or less, like, Ibogaine is to Africa, kind of like what ayahuasca is to South America, but it's totally different, and the high is completely different. Like my cousin, she passed away a couple years ago, and her first husband did a couple tours, and then their divorce and just a bunch of other shit, dude. PTSD, like a bunch of his buddies all died right in front of him. Anyways, he was telling me, and he's had addiction issues ever since then too. He went and did it, and he told me like he's not like a hallucinogens guy, but so they fly you down to Mexico and they hook you up to machines to make sure your blood pressure and your heart rate and everything's good, because I guess like it can get pretty out of hand if you do it wrong or take too much or whatever. And so he said he was sitting there Indian-legged, and like another version of him sitting and looking straight back at him, like floated up through the floor. And he's like, dude, I had to sit there and hash out my entire fucking life.
Oh, that'll do it, dude.
Holy shit, dude.
That'll do it.
It's like a 3-day trip, dude. It sounds crazy. But yeah, factory reset on your brain. PTSD's gone. Depression's gone. People with opioid addiction, alcoholism, like all sorts of shit. Like come back, and 99 fucking percent of them don't relapse or revert back to old behavior or whatever you want to call it.
Shit, that sounds pretty powerful. I can't imagine a better way than just a better version of yourself looking at you being like, you got to get your shit together and let's start with this, and just go through everything, man.
Dude, that's OG shit. That's plant medicine at its finest. That's literally,
teacher.
That's why.
Absolutely.
And I would like to look into a little bit more. I've heard people on other podcasts. There was a guest that came on to Crow 777 that was talking about it, like speaking very highly of it. And they said that, it is like pretty fucking intense, but what comes out of it is amazing. What's that?
Oh yeah. Amazing, dude. Rogan had an episode with a couple dudes on there that both started as like staunch fucking Republican politicians, I think. I think one was like the last governor of Texas, and then the other dude was like a senator or congressman from like Kansas or something. But the two of them are going balls out trying to get Ibogaine treatment like broadened into our fucking medical field here in America. So hopefully, they were excited that Trump was in, because they figured that since it helps the troops and shit and so many people, especially we're still in an opioid crisis that they fucking created.
Yep.
It would be great to get that shit, dude. Like, they targeted our whole generation, dude. It makes me fucking lose sleep every night. I hate those motherfuckers. I've buried so many of our fucking people, dude. Like, ugh.
It's interesting, the things that seem to really work have the biggest stigma, on them. mushrooms and the gain and everything else. It's like, this shit works, but it just,
Yeah, but somebody goes and drinks a Jack and Coke and you don't think anything negative.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They don't test you for that when you go get a job.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you smoked weed? Yeah. You're unreliable. We can't hire people like, we can't hire your kind.
Alcoholics, come on in. No, don't even trip.
Yeah, and that is, I think that it's, dude, we're talking about big pharma, we're talking about government, we're talking about politics, all of it thrives off of people overdosing, it thrives off of people being sick, it thrives off of even the homeless, bro. Like, in a weird way, it all thrives together, and, that's one negative facet of capitalism, that's for sure.
Money, dude. Money talks.
It do. So yeah, that's awesome. You know what? Maybe we'll try and find somebody that can speak pretty highly on it. Maybe we'll just try and do our own episode on it and try and really dig down deep into it. I mean, I don't know how good or how bad I was able to describe Taoism today, but
hey, shit, I didn't know really shit about it, dude. I feel like you did a good job, man. So
I don't really know what to compare it to.
Yeah, but who am I?
So. Sounded good to me, man. It's been years and years since I read those books. It's the Tao of Pooh and the Day, I think. Day of Piglet.
Yeah.
It's absolutely good shit, man.
All right, babe. We're gonna have to get Boog on Winnie the Pooh now. Okay, it's gonna be talking about Taoism. But anyway, all right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up right there. This was a little bit of a longer episode, but
it was, dude.
It had to be, and I'm happy it was.
Yes, that's the way I feel about these episodes. It's like, it goes as long as it needs to, and that's what we do. We just let it go, let it flow. So,
and we're only doing them twice a week now. If they go a little longer, they go a little longer.
Yeah, dude. I needed this though. It was nice to get back on here. I feel like it's been a while.
I can keep up with your guys' episodes over here. I cannot keep up with you anymore on freaking the cold, dude. Like,
it's a full-time job, I think.
Yeah. When I'm working or whatever, I'm always listening to you guys and everybody else. I'm like, I've never had a creator be able to outpace my listening capabilities. So
you just go the way around, right?
You guys are fucking crushing it. I'm just like, what the fuck, another one?
Oh yeah, baby. That's the hustler mentality. But it is fun too, because we get to talk to a lot of cool people. And dude, I just did a fucking episode on the cult yesterday. Yeah, on what was it again? This like haunted painting, and it's called the Crying Boy painting, and all the weird like haunting shit that like so many people died in fires, like house fires that all had this one painting hanging in their house.
I've heard of that, actually. Yeah.
And that one painting, out of everything in their house that burned to the ground, was the only thing that didn't burn up.
Mm-hmm.
And there was
that thing's got its own energy.
Bro, they were primarily sold in the UK, but 80 homes went up in flames after they had this painting in their house, and 50 of them were all in relatively the same area, not at the same time, but relatively in the same area. The fire chief witnessed 50 of these fucking cases himself.
What the fuck?
So I'm like, dude, imagine you see it once or twice. That's a weird coincidence. 50 times, dude.
That's not a coincidence.
You're like, what the fuck? And then you find out the backstory about it. All it is just like this little boy that is shedding a couple tears and everything. And the backstory is there is this guy, this painter, the guy who painted this. And oh, dude, it's so crazy. So this guy, he was walking down a road or something like that, saw this little boy that was weeping and everything, and he went to go talk to this little boy and try and check on him and see what's the matter or whatever. Well, there was this priest or something like that said, hey, look, just leave that little boy alone. His parents just died. He was an orphan. His parents just died in a house fire, and he doesn't have anybody else. And so the priest was like, look, just leave that little boy alone. Don't fuck with him or anything like that. And so the guy, the painter, was like, I feel horrible. I need to bring him in. I love the twinkle in his eye whenever I was painting him. Maybe I can make a couple more paintings or whatever of him, and, people like that. Because that was the thing that he became famous for, was of painting little boys crying. For some reason, they were selling like hotcakes. I don't get it. So he fucking adopts the kid, right?
Oh.
He adopts the kid. The kid comes and lives with him. After a couple of months, his house burns down, right?
Oh.
And so now he's blaming that little kid. And this is so wild. So he's blaming that little kid. He fucking unadopts him, kicks him out of the house. Later on in that little kid's life, that little kid is driving down the road, crashes his car. The crash wasn't what killed him. He got trapped in his car. It caught on fire, and that's what killed him.
Holy shit.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So strange.
What is that?
But they say that whenever you're capturing an emotion like that, especially if it's a negative emotion, and you put paint to brush and you're doing it like kind of with that intention of trying to capture that emotion, that emotion stays trapped in the painting. And so this guy, he ended up making like 50 different variations of that same painting. And there were something like 300,000 of those paintings that were sold in the UK. Now, obviously not everybody's house went up in flames, but 80 of them did. And it's like, what the fuck kind of shit is? So it's fucking insane.
Painting just encapsulated all of that emotion and, fuck. And just, it's like making a sigil or making something like that. And you're just putting this symbol together to mean something. And fuck, dude,
it's essentially a talisman. It's essentially a talisman at that point.
Fuck, dude. That's a trip. I can explain that one, man.
Yeah. That's
intention's all you need.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but anyway, that'll be a fun one. So maybe you want to check that one out. I was proud of that one. I put that bitch together. So, all right. Well, yeah, we'll let you guys get out of here. We're going to boogie up out of here. And, like we said, if you want to be able to join us, for the next live show, you want to be able to get the shows a couple of days in advance or listen to the shows completely commercial free. And you'll also be able to have access to reach out to us on Patreon, at any moment. Then come check us out at patreon.com/metamysteries. That link is down in the show notes of every show. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
I guess.
In a realm where shadows dance with light, through the whispering woods at night, secrets echo through the air, meta mysteries everywhere. Voices drift on winds untamed, words like spells that can't be named. Close your eyes and feel the sound, journey where no bounds are found. Open doors inside your mind, leave the ordinary far behind. Colors swirl and stars align, in the meta mysteries you'll find.